Rashford cleared to complete Barcelona loan move and knee injury ends Reddy's England tour. More details at 3:30.
CFI, a global leader in online trading, is now in South Africa. Access 15,000 plus instruments, currencies, stocks, metals, crypto CFDs, indices, futures, and more on world-class platforms. Enjoy zero pip spreads, no commission fees, and 24/7 support for confident trading. Visit cfi.trade for a secure, transparent trading experience. Don't miss the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda, Tuesdays at 16:45, proudly sponsored by CFI. CFI Financial, an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So I could talk about the fact that the junior box won the Under-20 World Cup, which actually means that we now have the world champions in the Blitzbokke, that Sevens Rugby, junior box, and the main Springbok team. It's quite amazing. I could talk about that, and I may do that, but not quite now, okay? I think we can't ignore the issue of Morocco, the MK party, and the people of the Sahrawi people of Western Sahara. And we'll focus on that and a whole lot of other things as one of the big issues that moves the National Pulse today. So I trust you had a wonderful weekend. My name's Ashraf Garda. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the National Pulse. 3 hours of connecting with you and I connecting to the biggest issues that really reflects what is it that moves the pulse of a nation. And we certainly know what that is, right? Now to connect, 086 000 2032. The quicker you call in, the quicker you send a WhatsApp, the more likely we are to play it on air, right? You can WhatsApp, text or voice note 0614 104 107. And you always have the option to tweet out live. Just use the hashtag The National Pulse and then tag SFM Radio and myself, Ashraf Garda. Well, follow us as well. It would be great if you do just that, okay? Right, let's get to issue number one. This move has caught many people by surprise. The Umkhonto we Sizwe Party, the MK, has officially recognized Morocco's sovereignty over what is called Western Sahara or the Sahrawi people and endorsed the autonomy plan as a viable solution to the regional dispute. Now, what's interesting about that is opposed to South Africa's official position. I also understand it's opposed to the position of the United Nations. It also is contrary to the position of the African Union. So what actually happened? Let's find out more about it with Makgasela Mzobe, the MK Party's head of presidency, chairperson of the party's International Relations Committee. Makgasela, appreciate you connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Yeah, thank you to accept the invitation.
Thank you.
Although we've just arrived back, we're at the airport transiting to Durban.
All right, you obviously heard my intro in terms of what South Africa's position is, the African Union's position, as well as the United Nations. What has happened with the MK's position?
Look, I feel like that dispute it's almost 50 years old now. and both parties have held two contradictory positions for the longest time. And until today, no platform, both the UN, the AU, and individual parties engaging in that dispute have been able to resolve it, because no one has been able to come up with sort of a middle ground to resolve the crisis. Now, President Zuma is not new in engaging with the matter. You'll remember that in 2017, in an AU summit in Addis Ababa, where Morocco was readmitted as a member state of the African Union after a very long time of having boycotted the platform. President Zuma, after that, engaged with the king of Morocco when they were meeting in the sideways of Abuja, and went to engage in Ivory Coast. The engagement was such that they were requesting that President Zuma intervenes because they are ready to move on the position of being steadfast on wanting to take the Sahara fully. Since then, President Zuma has been engaged on this matter. As a result, South Africa reopened the embassy of Morocco here in South Africa, and South Africa has an embassy in Morocco, fully fledged embassy, not a consulate like it was before. So even South Africa has moved on its position that it had prior to 2017, because before it was a consulate, now it's a fully fledged embassy. Now, this position is meant to take the matter further. It's in line with the policy position of Umkhonto we Sizwe on the unification of Africa. MK, since its inception, has been saying we can no longer afford to have many unviable political parties in South Africa. We need to have one voice representing the African people. In the continent, we can no longer afford to have many individual states that are small and have no voice in the global space. We need to be one continent. And we felt, guided by President Zuma, that the starting point would be to avoid having a new country altogether when there is a possibility of having an autonomy given to the Sahara people to self-govern like many other countries in the world, but Morocco becomes one united country that they must live side by side with each other.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, and I think, yes, you're right. I mean, people can move positions. I hear that. But what then is the official position of the MK party? Meaning, your role as a negotiator, I think, is fine, right? But beyond that, there's a position in terms of what you recognize. So do you recognize that that region of Morocco that includes the Sahrawi people is one country, or do you recognize what the African Union, my understanding, and certainly South Africa and the UN recognizes that, in fact, it's a separate entity that deserves the right to self-determination, which is not recognized by Morocco, but that would be their aspirations. Which one is it?
Our position is that we don't believe the Western Sahara must be an independent country of Morocco. That's why we're saying Morocco must be a unitary state. Western Sahara region must belong into Morocco, but given the autonomy to self-govern. Now, as far as Jared might not have time, I might have to come on studio, because we need also to help each other understand how many people are we talking about in that budget, in your estimation.
How many? I mean, it could be, it's a desert area, it could be a million people
United Nations put it between 600 and 700,000.
Yeah.
Now, in the global space where Africa needs to unite and consolidate its voice in global impact, in what position do we think Western Sahara people will have with a small country like that to punch on the matters that Africa needs to unite on? We strongly believe that if they become one country, Morocco, but be given the autonomy to self-govern, like we do in our country. You remember, our country was many countries that has passports that were declared independent by the apartheid government. But we thought that we cannot afford to balkanize Africa and our countries any further.
All
we
right.
need to become a unitary state.
I hear that, but I mean, that could be a practical issue, and I understand what you're saying. But what about the Sahrawi people themselves? If they don't wish to be incorporated as a self-governing state of sorts within within Morocco, then why would you not listen to them?
The issue here is that you could, here at home, were begging with that. That if the people that says there is genocide consolidate themselves under Orania and demand that we as the people genuinely do not wish to be part of this country, you'll be faced with the same problem. Because now you will have people, those people in the Sahara, we believe their interests could be better served because the historical claim of Morocco is based on that region having been one people under the many kings that have led in that country before, long before colonization. Now, what we're dealing with is the borders that were left by colonial powers because both that region and the country Morocco were colonized by multiple players, not by one. It was Spain at one stage, it was France at one stage. Now, we do believe that if you go to pre-colonial era, you will find on record that those people were living together, all of them paying allegiance to the king.
All right, I
But
hear
because
you.
of
Okay,
colonialism,
time doesn't allow. I hear you, but what I'm saying to you then fundamentally, right, for right or for wrong, right, if the people of the Sahrawi wants independence, not self-governance within Morocco, if they want that, and in fact there's evidence from the United Nations and the African Union to actually side with them on that issue, then what informs the MK party to think differently, which is not the same as saying let us be part of a negotiated solution if that's what's warranted?
Ronald, I'm saying to you, MK is talking about unification of Africa. Don't be shocked in future when we are also calling other African states which are small and could be easily viable when they become one country. That's a mission we're in. But the unification of Africa to us, it means eventually getting rid of the borders in the united continent where people can move easily with identification documents, but in one continent. But eventually we're going back to what people like Kwame Nkrumah have called for. One Africa, one flag, one people.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying. But I mean, part of that may be you start with actually giving them the independence, then you try and work together. But let's pick up on that conversation after this.
After that, we have opted for the autonomy, then we continue with that. But it doesn't have to be what you think could be the best.
All right, let's pick up on that right after this.
Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions Banyana Banyana. Witness the CAF Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
It all starts with FNB Private. With secure, easy payments for a hassle-free overseas holiday. Tap, swipe, or go digital with your FNB Visa cards. Earn rewards when using your FNB credit card or global account debit and virtual card. You can even fund your global account on the FNB app while traveling. Make the most of every moment. Unlock invaluable with FNB Private. Help changes everything. FNB, a division of First Rand Bank Limited, an authorized FSP and credit provider. TCs earn rules and limits apply.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture, and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal Musician, Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Lumalo, Trompis, and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change, and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula. X at SAFM Radio and at Ashraf Garda.
Right, let's conclude the conversation with from the MK side, with the MK's head of presidency and chairperson of the International Relations Committee, that is Makgasela Mzobe. We're talking about Morocco, MK party, and the Sahrawi, the people of the Sahrawi, right? So just before we had the break, I asked the point, and you talk about unity, and I understand that, but the basis of unity is first accepting autonomy and independence first, and then you try and convince countries to think as one, like the European Union may or may not do. Are we going about it the wrong way?
We're not going the wrong way because, as we speak, many other countries have accepted the proposal that has been put on the table. We're not the only one.
Which countries accepted it? In this case, I'm talking about regarding Morocco.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. If you go to United Nations and even Africa, many other people are starting to recognize that. That is why President Zuma, who will be going to Burkina Faso, is going to Niger and Mali, who have supported this proposition as a way of moving forward. And these are the same discussions that President Zuma is having with the leadership of Gabon since we attended their inauguration. Ghana is in the same, moving toward the same direction. So that's why I'm saying there are discussions taking place that President Zuma has been engaged on since 2017. And is just that because we went there is taking a lot of attention.
Okay.
The intention is to engage with the people there and continue engage other countries as what is the best possible solution to unite Africa.
All right. Just clarity on this one here then. So can I confirm that, in fact, your party did not speak to the representatives from the Sahrawi Republic?
We don't tell people when to talk to other people.
Sorry?
We did not tell you when we're meeting in Morocco. You say it on the news.
No, I'm asking, have you met the people of the Sahrawi?
No, that's between us and comrades from the Sahara. It is us and the people of Morocco. Once we have met people and there's a need to announce. On this one, we answered because it's making the headlines.
Okay.
And the ANC is getting over it. We're meeting people. President Zuma is meeting many people all over the world. And we're in contact with the same comrade you're talking about.
Okay, just a clarity. We're going to speak to DIRCO just now. They particularly concerned about what came across in terms of that meeting as with the South African flag there. That means it was South Africa and Morocco coming together. What's your response to that?
No, we really don't understand why South African government is getting involved on the matter of a political party like MK. We do not represent DIRCO. We went there as MK. Now, you will know we are not the first political party that has visited a foreign country and the flag is next to the leaders. Balula, as the Secretary General of the ANC, went to meet Algeria and there was a flag of the ANC. When the Algerian leadership come to Tuli House, there's a flag of the country. Why, when President Zuma, former president of South Africa, there's a question about the flag? The issue is never about the flag. It's because the ANC is too involved on the matter, and they must speak on behalf of the people.
Okay. Last thing. There has been multiple allegations that, in fact, the MK party would support the Moroccan position because Morocco, as a kingdom, is actually funding the MK party. What's your response to that?
Yeah, that those allegations are ridiculous. When people can phantom the reality that the ANC is no longer speaking on behalf of South Africa. It's a 40% party, and we're official opposition putting across our position. Let me give you an example. During elections, when people could not explain why MK was being supported for the country, we were told that Russia is funding MK. Today, no one has ever told us where is that man from Russia. Today, President Zuma goes to Morocco to continue with a position he had taken before he left the position of being the president of South Africa. That is why there was a reopening of embassies in both countries. The meeting was known. There are pictures President Zuma made to the king. Where was the money there?
Okay.
There is not a cent that Morocco has given to MK, and there are no discussion about Morocco giving money to MK. Okay. But soon we will announce the outcome of that meeting and how it will benefit the youth of South Africa.
Okay.
And that shall be done by next week.
So to confirm, at this point, is Morocco giving any money to the MK party? Or they may plan to do so?
No, we do not even ask for money. We will tell you next week the exchange between South African youth and the Moroccan youth and the skills transfer that will happen.
Okay, got that.
There's a lot we spoke about today, not about money.
Much appreciate your time. We'll have DIRCO coming up shortly as well. Makgasela Mzobe, the MK party's head of presidency, chairperson of the International Relations Committee. Much appreciate your time. We'll take some quick calls after this.
You're listening to the National Pulse.
Right, reaction. Hassan Logat in Joburg. Go for it. Hello.
Yeah, Ashraf, I was minding my own business, having you in the background, and then my blood started to boil and the doctor's not happy. Listen, I don't understand where the MK is going. If they want to be part of a liberation movement, why is it that they veer so far away from this historic commitment to make sure that people who are fighting for national self-determination, achieve their goals? What is next? Are they going to give up Palestine? Are you going to say these people are small? Really, what is the thinking?
What would what would you understand by their motives then?
Well, I must tell you, I think your question is on point. There seems to be no principle to argue that smaller nations mustn't exist in some way. What happens to island nations? What happens to different cultures? What is this globalizing agenda that we all have to become one? I mean, democracy works best when it's in smaller units, but also in alliance with other groups. I mean, what will happen to Lesotho, which I always say is ensconced in our stomachs? Is Lesotho going to be out? What about Swaziland or Eswatini? I mean, these other countries in southern Africa, they all have about 2 million odd people, 2.3 million Lesotho, etc. Really, they have to have a rethink. Nations have to coexist with each other, and the strong have to support the weak, and vice versa.
Okay, got
Don't
that.
start giving away people's rights.
Well, this is the National Pulse. Get your pulses in order as well, with your blood as well. Much appreciate your time here, Hassan Logat. There's more comments. Ashraf, what this party did is treason. Zuma should be stripped of all privileges. Morocco did not train Mandela. It was Algeria. And that comes from Rose, right? And there's a whole lot more. By the way, we'll pick up some of those other comments later. We'll chat to Durko coming up around 10 to 4. Listen out for that conversation. They're pretty furious, I understand, around the use of that flag, which, according to the MK party, says pretty normal when political parties meet others, including the African National Congress. Are you confused? Well, understandably so. 3:30. Here's the news headlines with Ondela.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, Judge Dia Pillay says counteracting voter apathy is a collective responsibility encompassing the IEC, political parties and the state. Pillay is seeking another 7-year stint as an IEC commissioner after having first been appointed to the position in 2018. The Standing Committee on Public Accounts says the dissolution of the Board of the Road Accident Fund will not distract its work of conducting an inquiry into the affairs of the entity, and a concert involving a Russian conductor has been cancelled following widespread criticism. A full update follows at the top of the hour.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, community unrest with multiple roads being blocked in the Tembisa area has been reported, and we ask you to expect delays as well as diversions on local routes. The N12 eastbound in Pitfontein has a crash before the Kingsway Avenue exit, and Santon Drive in Parkmore has delays to and from Winnie Mandela Drive. In KZN, the N2 southbound has a crash reported after Spaghetti Junction. On the M7, there's truck congestion reported in that Rosberg area, and South Coast Road also has truck congestion reported in the Rosberg area. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has a crash reported that's on the elevated freeway and Victoria Road outbound, slow moving through Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
So, to me, there's a celebration of sort for the South African under-20 team, the junior box. Can I say it? World champions.
They literally are world champions. And remember on Friday what I said about hoping that the junior box will prove me wrong? Well, it seems like they really did prove me wrong. And yep, they are back in the country and they return to a hero's welcome today. This is after winning the World Rugby Under-20 Championship in Italy. South Africa beat New Zealand 23-15 in Saturday's final to lift the title for the first time since 2012. SA Rugby President Mark Alexandra says that their victory victory is a tribute to all the hard work done at high school level by educators, coaches, and at provincial unions from whom these players are drawn. So a big congratulations to the Junior Boks. Then in football, former Banyana midfielder Pinky Majekane says that the defending champions need to play to their own strengths. This is when they face Nigeria in the WAFCON semi-final tomorrow night. Banyana's title defense hopes were kept alive. This is after a hard-fought 4-1 win in a penalty shootout against Senegal in the quarterfinal on Saturday.
10 times WAFCON champions, and obviously they're looking to win their 10th a title here. But I don't think South African Banyana will just sit back there and just let the Nigerians take this one. We are the defending champions, and I think over the years we've shown how capable we are as a nation, as a team. We've been in an encounter with Nigeria, a few times, and the last time we've beaten them. So it means this is possible for us. We know that Nigeria, they are tall. Physically, they're very strong. They can win the aerial balls. We're very short. But we just need to study. We've studied their weaknesses and their strength, and we know they're very physical, they're very tall, and they can be intimidating, especially in the middle field, but also at the front line. So we just need to be composed. We just need to play the ball on the ground, because that's what we're good at.
Well, still staying with football, School of Excellence football manager Mojalefa Matebula says that he is basically accusing relegated Premier Soccer League side Cape Town City of unfair business practices, as he alleges that the club has not paid them a cent for talented Amajimbo sensation Emile Witbooi. Now, Witbooi, who joined City from the School of Excellence last year, basically went on to City after they won a competition from Sundowns to secure the services of Witbooi.
If people are celebrating a young player like Emile, we need to find out, did Cape Town City pay for his development fee?
Are you getting anything from their next sale?
They have not even paid the first amount, the development fee. So how, if they have not paid the development fee, what makes you think they will pay the solidarity?
Are you saying they have not paid anything even when he's already made his debut?
Not even a cent.
What was on the contract?
When we gave them the clearance, it went with the invoice. So if they have a clearance to register him, they saw the invoice and they can tell you what's on the invoice.
Elsewhere, Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford is in Spain to complete a season-long loan move to Barcelona. The 27-year-old arrived in Catalonia last night after getting permission from United to complete the formalities for this move. Talks between the Spanish Giants and United have progressed swiftly in the last week, with the deal being agreed in principle over the weekend. Then in cricket, India's bowling attack suffered a double blow, with Nitish Kumar Reddy ruled out of the remainder of the tour of England. This is due to a knee injury, while fellow seamer Ashdeep Singh will also miss the fourth test in Manchester. India's board, BCCI, did not share details on Reddy's injury, but cricket news website ESPN Cricinfo reported that the 22-year-old had damaged a ligament while training in the gym on Sunday. Meanwhile, Afghan women cricketers will be eligible to compete in major ICC tournaments, including the 2025 Women's Cricket World Cup in India and the 2026 T20 World Cup in England. The ICC announced a new support program to help Afghan women to continue their cricket careers in exile, and this initiative is backed by the ICC, BCCI, ECB and Cricket Australia, and it will definitely offer high performance training and playing opportunities. Anything's off with netball. KwaZulu-Natal Kingdom Stars coach Nompumelelo Mthembu says that she's quite happy with the team's good display to help retain the Telkom Netball League Division 2 title at the Durban ICC. Stars convincingly defended the championship after securing a 43-33 win against the Western Cape Tornadoes on Saturday evening.
Overwhelmed. I'm so happy, and I'm so happy for the team because the team, we had one goal, is to win the finals, of which Besi Ritena title A2 from last year. So we had to do it. We had to do it for KZN Yonke as we were playing in our home ground. Crowd was helping us a lot today, and we are very happy.
On that note, it is a wrap from my side for now. I will go and look back on what I said on Friday in the last bulletin so that I can see how I fared in terms of my predictions.
Yes, let's see if you're on a winning streak or a losing streak anyway. But the junior box are on a winning streak. That we know for sure.
Super proud.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the soundtrack of your life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us.
So have you watched part 1 and part 2 of Chasing the Sun? It was on both Sundays. Now part 3 is on this coming Sunday because it's every Sunday for 5 weeks running, right? And that's that fabulous story that reflects the chasing of the sun, meaning in Japan when South Africa, the Boks, won the 2019 Rugby World Cup. So don't miss it. Episode 3, from the drama, the heartaches to absolute glory. And by the way, it's not just on television. If you download the SABC Plus app, you can then stream the chapter, that is, of each of weeks, anywhere, anytime, no subscription needed. You got it? Chasing the Sun, this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
So amongst the most interesting stories of the last week or so has been that deal where U.S. prisoners effectively sent out in exile, not to their home countries, for committing a whole series of crimes and really bad, evil crimes, but they've sent them to a third country, to, in this case, Eswatini, right? And there were protests last week. I understand now that position has attracted massive public disapproval, and the country's largest opposition party is Podemo. They vow to intensify their campaign against Kim Swati's regime, and they've also undertaken to heighten its mobilization efforts to fight against this decision. Is it complex or is it not complex? Mlungisi Makhanya is the president of the People's United Democratic Movement, which is Podemo. Mlungisi, appreciate your time. You're connected to us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, and good afternoon to SAFM listeners. Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Now, we did talk about it last week already, but let's get context for those who are tuning in for the very first time. Why is it an issue if 5 people from America get effectively deported or exiled out of that country to Eswatini with the cooperation and support of, in this case here, the ruling party or ruling government of Eswatini? Why is that an issue?
Well, it is an issue, Ashraf, because we don't have any provision in our laws of the country that allows such an arrangement. Section 74 of our Correctional Service Act, number 19 of 2017, does not permit such. The only permission it allows is a transfer of a Swazi citizen who may have been convicted in a foreign jurisdiction to come and serve the sentence in Swaziland, or a transfer of a foreign citizen who may have convicted by Swazi courts to go and serve their sentences in their own countries. But even where the Transfer of Convicted Offenders Act number 10 of 2001 allows such, it is very clear that one, it must be a citizen of Eswatini, and if it is not a citizen of Eswatini, the transferred convict must consent to the transfer to come and serve in Swaziland. So what we have seen in this case, it's a complete disregard and violation of our own domestic laws in Swaziland, but also it's a deal that has been shrouded in secrecy, which is underpinned by nothing but a transaction between King Mswati and Donald Trump, as it were. And we stand fundamentally opposed to this, not just as Pudemo, but as the people of Eswatini. In our country, Ashraf, our prisons are overcrowded. Our own citizens are living under appalling conditions precisely because we do not have the capacity to come and to think that we can now import what is said to be very dangerous criminals who have committed serious crimes in the United States of America, flies in the face of an already overcrowded prison system. And we are opposed to that.
You talk about a transaction between the king of Eswatini on the one hand and then Donald Trump on the other. What is, in your understanding, is the nature of that transaction?
Well, Ashraf and SAFM listeners, Mswati has positioned Swaziland not just in this transaction, but for some time now as a destabilizing force, primarily against South Africa's foreign policy position postures, but also against the region and continental position. You could see from this transaction that besides cashing in, the king has allowed a situation where the common held position of SADC and the African continent, as it were, of not allowing our continent to be a dumping ground for hardened criminals is being violated. It's doing the same thing if you can look at the Swaziland's position on Taiwan in vis-a-vis to China.
All right, let's then talk about the level of opposition to the king on this particular issue. How big, how large is the opposition in terms of people who are disappointed, and what are you doing about it?
Well, the position is widespread, Ashraf. As we speak today, we delivered a petition to the United States of America's embassy in Ezulwini. We attempted to do it last week. They said we must come today. We did today. We are still busy on building opposition to it. But also, before the end of this week, we would have filed with our court legal papers to challenge this illegality. So we are on a build-up phase, but we are absolutely inspired by the fact that the opposition is widespread. Inside Parliament, outside Parliament, and with broader civil society, including some, by the way, in the very same cabinet that is said to have okayed this decision.
And I take it, of course, that you would want this entire agreement rescinded, right? What powers do you have? How likely is that?
Well, indeed, that is what we are pushing for. But we want to raise this very important point, Ashraf. This is not just an Eswatini issue. This should be concerning to all citizens of the region, particularly South Africa and Mozambique, because we think that this is not just going to end in Eswatini. When these convicts are released, they will be released to the rest of the region and the continent. And it is for this reason that we invite our brothers from neighboring countries and in the continent at large to join us in rejecting these attempts to encroach the sovereignty of our continent and our respective countries.
So petition after petition, lobbying after lobbying, protest after protest, and the king or King Mswati does not listen to your request. What happens next?
Well, there's clearly going to be a repeat of the 2021 uprising. We are very serious about this issue because we think if we allowed it to hold, we fear that more will happen. Before we know it, there will be a military base in our own country to be said Swaziland is a sovereign country and it has agreed that America must come and establish a military base there. So we think for us, this is a do-or-die battle, and it's a battle we're not willing to lose.
So you're saying a repeat of that previous uprising. Who would coordinate it? Your party?
Well, we will coordinate it both as a party, but also as the mass democratic movement under the leadership of the multi-stakeholder forum and the political parties assembly, like we did last time. We believe that we want to continue doing what we did in 2021. In 2021, we started with petitions, and many people were dismissive of petitions, saying, well, they are not impactful. But we know how we need to go about if we want to mobilize Swazis, and we're doing exactly that.
Just the last thing, I mean, I hear your opposition to it, I understand, I hear your pitch, I hear you explaining it, right? But is it as fundamental as you put it to your country, to the point where you actually have to canvass or mobilize for an uprising against what? Against the state, against the king, what?
Well, it is fundamental to our country, because at the heart of this, it is the fact that the king and his government continues to be constitutional delinquents. We are a country that is supposed to be governed by a constitution, and we cannot permit a situation where there is a complete disregard and violation of our constitution and our laws, because today it is these 5 prisoners. But already, Ashraf, the Swaziland government is on record to say it has more space to accommodate even more prisoners to come into our shop. So for us, this is not just about these prisoners. It is about our sovereignty. It is about our autonomy. It is about the supremacy of the Swazi people in terms of determining what should happen in their own country.
All right, to end with, what is the level of communication and consultation between your party and the king himself, and maybe it's basically the centers of power? What is the level of communication?
Well, there is no communication at all, because following the 2021 uprising, all that the king did was to import mercenaries from South Africa, Israel, Rwanda, and some countries, and he has heightened the level of security threat and intimidation against our people. But we will not be deterred. I think we owe it to our martyrs like Thulan Masego and others who paid their ultimate price to continue this fight for the emancipation of our people.
Okay. In fact, we've got let's just see if we can get a quick response on this one here. What will make their protest this time different from any other protest they had on different issues? King Mswati doesn't listen to anybody, comes from Khojane and Kroonstad. I mean, you already made the point there's no communication. So what would make this protest different then compared to previous ones in terms of achieved outcomes?
Well, when we protested in 2021, like we intend to protest now, it was mainly peaceful protest. But this time around, Ashraf, we must say that all options are on the table in terms of how effective we must ensure that our protest has to be. But it will obviously not be tactical of me to disclose here on air what is it really that we intend to upscale to make sure that our protests around this time around, they are more impactful and they yield the desired results.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Of course, the show is the National Pulse, and part of that is getting a pulse of what's happening in other countries, including a country very, very close to us, literally so, that the country of Eswatini. Mlungisi Makhanya, the president of PUDEMO, which is the acronym for the People's United Democratic Movement. Much appreciate you connecting to us here on SAFM's The National Pulse.
Join us for this year's fundraiser, Jazz for Young People concert at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July. This unique event, perfect for families, is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. So bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring the Parktown Girls Band, Tshwane School of Music, The Real DJ Zandi, Kutlotaro Jazz Band, and many others. Tickets are just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12 via Quicket. Jazz for Young People is proudly brought to you by Standard Bank Joy of Jazz.
Lewang Ramalepe right back. What lightens up my mood is music, R&B, sometimes it's Lokompo, sometimes reggae. I was good in athletics. I used to run the 800 meters. Me as a president, hey, what I would change? Unemployment and fixing the economy. To all our fans, you can watch the game on SABC Sport. We are the African champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
You are listening to the National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Right, I'll try and connect with you as soon as I can because we need to hear what you feel because you are very much on the pulse. But, what about DIRCO? They're on the pulse, I think. Their spokesperson is Crispin Phiri. And let's get their thoughts and their perspective regarding that visit of the MK party to Morocco, but maybe more significantly for that, the issue of the South African flag. Is it complex or not? Crispin, appreciate you connecting to the National Pulse.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Right, I understand from a DIRCO perspective the demand for an official apology from Morocco. Give us context here. What is the issue?
We will be taking this up through the diplomatic channels insofar as whatever meeting was held. What we can definitely see is that an impression was given that this was an official meeting of the two republics, and I think that is something that we will explore through the diplomatic channels, and naturally in a space where we are seeing a confluence of political actors, non-state actors for that matter, going to foreign countries and really pushing positions that are contrary to our national interest and the official foreign policy of a government. We are certainly concerned by all of these developments taking place. And I think that's something that we will definitely take up as well through the diplomatic.
In terms of what you saw, what you heard, in terms of optics, what to you suggests that the impression given was that it was an official meeting between two states?
I think to an unsuspecting person who doesn't know the actors in the videos and the pictures, when you see an official flag of a republic with another's, you may take that as an official meeting of those two countries. So to that extent, that's definitely what is on the face of it very visible, and it's something that we will take up. Of course, the usage of a flag by a national is a very different to a usage of a flag in a diplomatic setting, and that's why it's something that we really do need to take up through the diplomatic channels.
So explain it so we understand it. Explain it. I mean, if I went, and I do, and often when I speak at engagements, I try, especially outside of our country, to at least have this metal lapel badge of a South African flag. What's the difference between that and another national from my country meeting other people and having the flag of the home country displayed?
Yeah, so you can take the South African flag to a protest, and you can take it to a soccer match. A flag is the property of the people. But once it is presented in an official setting where it looks like the diplomatic discussion takes place, then that flag takes on a completely different connotation. But of course, you may have noticed that in official engagements of the president abroad, we do use the South African flag. But in official engagements back home, where the president is present and official government officials are present, you will see more prominently the coat of arms featuring. That shows that that's an official engagement with a government representative in the republic. But insofar as diplomatic relations are concerned, when we're abroad, we use the flag to denote that this is South African government.
So according to you, as you said, watching it, it gives the impression of it being an official setting, right?
Definitely, yeah.
And your demand of an apology is from Morocco, but not from the MK party, not from former President Zuma.
No, we don't dictate how non-state actors will conduct themselves abroad. But I guess the reaction from the South African Republic, public rather, really does make it quite clear that this is something that South Africans don't approve of. But of course, we would not dictate to non-state actors who they should meet abroad. But what we are very clear about is that they cannot misrepresent themselves and claim to be representatives of the South African government, or let alone the interests and the custodians of South African people's interests. That is the sole preserve of an elected official.
Do you get the sense that Jacob Zuma misrepresented himself?
That is why, through the diplomatic channels, we will engage our Moroccan counterparts to understand what exactly this entails and how this misrepresentation, at least of our flag, creating the impression that there's an official meeting took place. But as for what the MK position is on the people of the Western Sahara and how it relates to Morocco, that's a party position, and I think we will not comment on that as government. Non-state actors do engage in all manner of activities, But where we take issue is the fact that this must never be misrepresented as the position of the South African people.
Okay, so just to be clear, whatever their position, the MK party, which may now appear very different to what the position is of the country, that's not for you to comment on. Is that what you're saying?
No, it is not for me to comment on. I think players in the political space can offer their commentary on that. Safe to say that the South African government's position is very clear on Western Sahara. We still do view it as one of the last colonized countries on the African continent, and we do believe in the right to self-determination of the Sahrawi people. And our solidarity with the people of Western Sahara remains intact.
Okay. In fact, speaking to the MK party spokesperson earlier, he made the point that President Zuma not only is in contact with Morocco, as you know, but speaking to other countries in the West African region. I'm looking at names like countries like Burkina Faso. I may be wrong with one or two of them, but anyway, some of those West African countries who, in fact, what he told us, in fact, they'd be supportive of the MK party position and vice versa, meaning that more so than an independent state, they would support self-governance within the country or the Kingdom of Morocco.
Well, that is for them to debate, but quite frankly, as a country that has benefited from solidarity for people who believed in the right of our right to self-determination, we believe that we should do the same. So countries like Western Sahara, which the context upon which they find themselves in is a clear case of occupation, and we are really a country that has benefited from such solidarity, where we've seen the long-lasting impression. We continue to live with the long-lasting impressions of colonization and occupations, if you like, in our context.
Okay.
So it would be difficult for us to support an occupation of another country anywhere else in the world.
Now, of course, South Africa's position, regarding Israel-Palestine, regarding Russia-Ukraine, and many other parts of the world where you've taken up a position of being effectively a deal maker and a just deal maker at that, right? Your position is very clear as a country with regard to the Sahrawi people, right? But would this issue of the flag not jeopardize any potential negotiation you have with the Moroccans? It's not been exactly peli every day. So some may say, but honestly, it's an irritation. But leave it at that. It's an irritation. There are bigger issues to resolve, which is actually to try and negotiate independence for the Sahrawi.
Yeah, we remain committed to dialogue. We remain committed to respectful dialogue, might I add, in every single context where conflict takes place. So whether it's in Western Sahara with the Moroccans, or whether it's in Israel and Palestine, or whether it's in Sudan, where there are warring factions as we speak, we remain committed to engaging all parties to ensure that there's a just solution. And in the process of engagement, this is also where we will address some of these issues, where we feel that I think a country like Morocco could have been a lot more circumspect in this engagement. Had there been an MK flag there, quite frankly, we would not be having this conversation. So, these are things that we will continue to engage with through the diplomatic channels about in all the contexts that apply.
Okay, much appreciate your time today, Crispin Phiri, spokesperson for the Department of International Relations and Cooperation, DIRCO, on the issue of the MK party, Morocco, and the Sahrawi people. We'll have a further take on that coming up after 5, I can tell you. But of course, your calls too and your opinions welcome. Let's get the news now. Here's Ondela Imbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news, interviews for IEC Commissioner continue, and update on Fly Safair pilot salary demands. For SAFM News, I am Ondela Imbana, and a very good afternoon. Judge Daya Pillay says counteracting voter apathy is a collective responsibility encompassing the IEC, political parties and the state. Pillay is seeking another 7-year stint as an IEC commissioner after having first been appointed to the position in 2018. She is one of 11 candidates being interviewed in Midrand over the next 2 days by a panel chaired by Chief Justice Mandi Samaya to fill 3 vacant positions in the Electoral Commission. Judge Pillay has previously served as an acting judge in the Supreme Court, a High Court judge in KwaZulu-Natal, and at the Labour Court until 2010.
In the previous elections, we had a 63% voter turnout. In the last elections, it was 58%. It is a worry for everybody, not just the IEC. The IEC is doing what it is meant to do: educate, outreach, communicate.
The Standing Committee on Public Accounts says the dissolution of the Board of the Road Accident Fund will not distract its work of conducting an inquiry into the affairs of the entity. Transport Minister Barbara Creecy recently dissolved the board of RAF, citing persistent governance and operational challenges that have beset the entity and significantly undermined its ability to discharge its statutory mandate. SCOPA has already adopted the terms of reference of the inquiry into allegations of maladministration and financial impropriety, among other things, at RAF. Chairperson of SCOPA, Songezo Zibi, elaborates.
The Standing Committee on Public Accounts has noted the dissolution of the Board of the Road Accident Fund by the Minister of Transport. Our position is that the inquiry will nonetheless continue because we are not investigating individuals. We are investigating the crisis of financial management and mismanagement of funds at the Road Accident Fund, and that work needs to continue. And to the extent that there are former and current board members or staff who need to appear before the committee, they will either be invited or subpoenaed to appear.
Minister of Agriculture John Steenhuisen has called on key stakeholders to join hands with government in financing vaccine procurement. Foot and mouth disease have resulted in restrictions on livestock movement and significantly impacted the country's red meat trade in international markets. Provinces affected by the outbreak include KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, Gauteng and the Free State. Steenhuisen spoke at the opening of the two-day foot and mouth disease Indaba and Roteplant in Pretoria.
The reason why everybody is in this room today is because the message is very clear. The state cannot do it all on its own. That's why partnerships for growth are one of the key pillars of the Agriculture Department. So today I want to send a clear message to the industry. If you want predictability, then you're going to have to invest and partner with government. And we're calling on the livestock industry, especially the red meat, dairy and game sectors, to begin by partnering with us on vaccine procurement.
Fly's Affair Chief Marketing Officer Kirby Gordon says they're still open to negotiations with their disgruntled pilots. Fly's Affair pilots have rejected the airline's 5.7% wage increase offer, sticking to their demand of a 10.5% salary hike. The standoff threatens to disrupt flights for up to 2 weeks, jeopardizing passenger confidence. About 26 of 174 flights have been cancelled since the morning. Gordon says the pilots' demands are illogical.
We remain very open to the process and we continue to negotiate in good faith, but I think to expand upon the 5.7% offer, 5.7% is on the base pay. The offer also includes a number of other remunerative structures, including bonuses and flight pay. The actual cost to company increase is 11.29%. And I reiterate, in an economy with low inflation, where banks and other significant employers are offering 4% to most employees, when you already earn a competitive salary, an 11.29% increase is unheard of in this current economy.
A concert involving a Russian conductor has been cancelled following widespread criticism. Valery Gergiev has been due to perform at a music festival in Italy. In 2022, several Western cultural institutions, including Milan's La Scala and Munich Philharmonic Orchestra and New York's Carnegie Hall, served ties with Gergiev over his failure to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The BBC's Paul Moss has the details.
He's a firm ally of Vladimir Putin, and Valery Gergiev has refused to condemn Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That's made him something of a pariah in the world of classical music. So there was shock and surprise when it was announced he'd be conducting at a music festival held in the Italian town of Caserta later this month. Italy has been a strong ally of Ukraine, and the country's culture minister had condemned the performance, along with Russian human rights campaigners. Now it seems the festival has caved into pressure and Mr. Gergiev will not be appearing.
Recapping the top story, Judge Daya Pillay says counteracting voter apathy is a collective responsibility encompassing the IEC, political parties and the state. Pillay is seeking another 7-year stint as an IEC commissioner after having first been appointed to the position in 2018. I am Mondela Mbana for SAFM News. Headlines at 4:30.
In your sports this hour, Junior Box Lion Blue Bulls squad, Cape Town Spurs takes Chiefs Amazulu player dispute to DRC, and Owen shines on debut as Australia beat Windies in the first T20. More details at 4:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N3 northbound in Bedfordview, queuing on the ramp to the N12 east at Kilulis Interchange. The N1 southbound in Midrand has a crash before Baklu Interchange, and the N14 in Lanseria has delays north of the R512 Malibongwe Drive exit. In KZN, the M7 westbound queuing towards the N3 highway. The N2 southbound has a crash after Spaghetti Junction, and South Coast Road is where truck congestion is reported in that Rosberg area. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound has a crash on that elevated freeway that's causing serious delays, and Marine Drive northbound in Pardon Island queuing through that section. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
SA Sport Awards reflect our collective nation-building spirit. Mzansi's sport heroes and heroines have shown resilience, persistence, passion, discipline, and world-class achievements in the sports fraternity. Nominees will be announced in August. Let us celebrate #IsInJustAGame. Catch the 18th Annual SA Sport Awards on Sunday 24 August at 7:30 p.m. on SABC Plus and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4, then on SABC 1 at 8 p.m. Brought to you by the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture in partnership with SASCOG and SABC Sport. Celebrating sporting excellence. Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions by Yana Bayana. Witness the CAF Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
So, I mean, here's a thought. Are we set for a diplomatic row? But, already, should I say, there's a bit of a Cold War already between Morocco and South Africa. Are we set for even more of that, with South Africa now officially protesting the use of the South African flag at a meeting between the Moroccan government and the head of a political party in South Africa, not the government? I just wonder. Just while you're at it, just think about this, right? And I just want to make the point about the Springboks. Now, up to now, the Springbok rugby team, more than any other, was perhaps the most powerful symbol of apartheid South Africa. Because it represented all that apartheid was. It represented, for many people, a sense of Afrikaner superiority, or claims of that anyway. I'm going back all those years. So we all despise the Springboks. I certainly did, and what they stood for, right? And then came, 1994 and 95, and the Mandela meetup with Francois Pienaar, and so much has changed. Now, let me say this much. That doesn't mean at this point in time everything is perfect in rugby. It isn't. There are many fault lines in rugby, as there would be in football or cricket. But I can tell you now, the Springbok rugby team are the world champions. The junior Springboks are the world champions. The Springbok Blitzbokke are the world champions. And all of them have achieved those highest levels, best in class, at the same time transforming themselves completely. More than any other sport at this point in time, that sport appears to be working. Never mind some of the fault lines. They in many ways reflect the prototype of stronger together, and the prototype of how we can transform without in any way compromising excellence. And then transforming doesn't just not compromise excellence. In fact, it enhances excellence, because we draw on the entire population compared to what was happening all those years ago in apartheid South Africa. So bottom line to all of this, at this point in time, we do well, you and I, to look at the rugby model of Stronger Together in all sectors of South African society, and maybe, just maybe, see how we can extend that prototype in what we do and be stronger together and be excellent and world-class and transform all in one go. Well, that's my point.
The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda. Weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, let's get on to another important issue. You may have heard about this before. There's been tensions in Tembisa with residents protesting against high electricity tariff hikes. The Ekurhuleni Executive Mayor, Nkosi Pindile Xhakaza, visited the area earlier today after the community shut down roads. Well, what has happened since then? What's the mood of the people? And what happens next? Horisani Sitole is the SABC News reporter who's been covering that story. Appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon, Ashraf.
Thank you for your time, right? So, okay, where are we at now? There's been protests. What are the protests about? And I do understand there's been some concessions made.
Yes, Ashraf, it actually started last night. The residents took to the streets as late as last night, as early as late last night, barricaded the roads. I mean, the situation was very tense this morning. We've seen some people were unable to even go to work as a result. But the issue here is about the electricity tariff hikes. You remember, Ashraf, that in April, Eskom increased its tariffs by close to 13%. And then municipal customers, including City of Joburg and other places, they saw this 11.32% increase starting from July, which means it's this month. So, you're speaking to the people, some say when they bought electricity, for example, one will buy electricity for 700 rand. All they got was around 91 units. Something that's way too astronomical. But I understand that there was a surcharge of 126 rand that the residents say they are not happy about. And we've seen the mayor addressing that and then making promises that they will temporarily put it aside until they go back to council and discuss. And then that is an issue of NERSA and Eskom as well.
So would that be a similar increase that, let's say neighboring Johannesburg has got something like 250 rands a month, monthly surcharge that has been quite an uproar, but things are pretty quiet at the moment. Would it be something similar?
Yes, it's similar, but seems like this one, then the 126 could be unique to Ekurhuleni, depending on how you remember that. Hence, he even speaks about the council, how they make decisions as to how much they go, because it's an individual decision. So they'll go to Eskom and buy bulk electricity and then sell it to the people. So there's a set charge from Eskom. Then we're talking about 250 in the City of Joburg. It's something that we also need to go deeper into looking into. Why is it that 170? Is it 170? 126 on top of the 250 that we know on the side of the City of Joburg or what? But it's something that we're hoping that there's going to be more of an explanation as to how to get to that. But it's the 126 at this stage that the people are not happy about.
So now we know there's a suspension, but it is a temporary suspension. Does that sort of appease the protesters? Do they get a sense that all's over now or not?
They feel like it's not, but speaking to some, they say they are relieved that there is this temporary suspension because they feel like at least there's something. Speaking to one of them, he even said that, you see, if the mayor is not coming to us, now that we've done action, we went to the streets, because they apparently they were expecting him yesterday, but he didn't attend to them. So then they said, now because we've shown action, at least they see some movement and changes, even though they're temporary. They are hoping that when they come back, they'll come back to their senses. But some say politicians are politicians. Such could have been said just for them to quiet down at this stage.
Well, now, in terms of what was said about the temporary, call it ceasefire concession, right? Was that explained in terms of how it could be done? I'm talking from the executive mayor's point of view, because, one would think if you're going to raise any sort of tariff and you think that people, or even a 116 odd rands, if you think there'll be no protest, you'd be rather naive. So how would they be able to turn this around that quickly from, yes, we're going to charge you, no, we're not?
It seems like, as he said, that it includes, remember the decision, Eskom makes an application, puts it to NERSA approves. Now, what he's saying to the people is that they'll go back and sit with his MMCs and see how they are going to maneuver it. But also, there's also a question of how then, because this has been said by ESCOM and all that, how are they going to go through it? I think it's something that we deserve to watch very closely. And I think also the question of how are they, when we talk about the council, Ekurhuleni Council, how are they going to do it? And is it something we can see residents of Joburg also following suit or what? I mean, it's something that's worth looking into.
What is the level of the protest? Meaning, how widespread is it?
Pardon, I think I lost you for a second. You said the level of the
saying the level of the protest. That means how widespread is it?
It was very tense because, I mean, so many streets were closed. I mean, we've seen the police firing rubber bullets to try to disperse the crowd so that at least one of the busiest roads leading into and outside of Tembisa could be open. But we've seen that so many places were closed down. So the magnitude of the protest actually was very intense.
And what about the police presence? Tell me more about that in terms of the various intersections that sort of map out the entire region.
So actually police and other law enforcement agencies were out in numbers. Here we talk about SAPS. We've seen lots of them. Actually, they are the ones who were firing rubber bullets and tear gas to try to disperse the crowd. And then also we've seen the Red Berets were here. I mean, the Green Berets and Gauteng, the community safety wardens, they were there. And also Ekurhuleni Metro Police, they were there, but the numbers in terms of the protesters, they were way too many. And you know, when the police are trying to clear them on the other end, they'll rise to the other side and continue with their blockages and barricading of roads.
Just the last thing then, what's the mood of the people right now?
Actually, the mood has been it's been quiet now, and some they're saying they're going to allow this process and see how it goes going forward. But we've had spoke to one gogo who says actually she can no longer afford electricity as much as she would like to comply. She 2,500 grant cannot cover that the way the price has gone up. We also heard of some who say they also have an issue of the penalty, 6,000 rand for illegal connections that they have to pay. Some are not happy with that as well. So it seems like they have issues, but as much as they've had the promise that it will be temporarily suspended, and he has made that they should allow them at least 24 hours for their technicians to work on it to make sure that going forward, then for the time being, there's nothing that's happening.
Okay, let's leave it at that. I appreciate your time here on the National Pulse. Horisani Sithole, SABC News reporter, covering that story in the Tembisa region. There's been massive protests around electricity tariff hikes, and there's been, therefore, this temporary suspension of that from the executive mayor of that region. But what happens tomorrow is really another question.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Runners will brighten the streets of Phalaborwa during the F21 Half Marathon. It is a unique race that starts in the afternoon. Athletes confront the unkindness of the heat. This special running day honors 3 decades of endurance and unites Phalaborwa in motion. The 2025 edition promises an unforgettable experience. Catch the F21 Half Marathon on Saturday, 26 July at 1 p.m. Streaming live on SABC Plus, SABC2 and SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the soundtrack of your life. broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Ashraf Garda on the National Pulse.
Looking at a comment from you, Dr. Imdletshe, saying, Ashraf, I love your comment about the Springboks. I'm happy to say this is true about cricket and soccer. We are still a little bit behind on soccer, but Hugo is taking us there. These pockets of excellence is what we need as a nation to take us there. We need to purposefully multiply them. Well, that's the point. It's sport now, but really you can do the same across the nation, can't you? Here's another. Zuma is a former state president, but the national flag belongs to him. That national flag belongs to him as long as he's still alive, and it is going to be buried with him at the end. Think about it from Anonymous. Now, why are you anonymous on that issue? Okay, got that. Well, I'll tell you what, let's stay in the KZN region. This is an issue we've talked about before, well, sideways to a degree, about, non-delivery of foods around the National School Nutrition Program, non-payment, really, of those who provide services. Now we have an extension of that story. The National School Nutrition Program Service Providers Association, right, they're urgently calling for the immediate suspension and investigation of the current National School Nutrition Program. The tender process, that is, in KwaZulu-Natal. Why? Well, because there's been allegations of tender rigging, political interference, and violations around procedures too. Let's understand it, certainly from their perspective, with Lindani Matewane, the KZN chairperson of the National Schools Nutrition Program Service Providers Association. Lindani, appreciate you chatting to us here on the National Pulse once again.
Thank you for having us.
Right.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so tell us, what is the issue here? Because, I mean, amongst the points I've highlighted is tender rigging, political interference, and procedure violations. What is the issue?
We all know that there was an advert to apply for a new contract, which will resume next year in April for another 3 years, which we did apply. And we waited for the department to do the necessary procedures. And apparently they did, and they issued award on Friday. They gazetted and they issued the intention to award. What seems to be an issue with us is the fact that most of the companies that were awarded companies that were registered in February, March, April this year, when the tender has been advertised already. Secondly, remember when we submitting our documents, there was a closing date, and they issued a list of companies who managed to submit in time, and we got that list. But some of the companies that are awarded do not appear on that list. It means they were not there.
So they were actually awarded, and now that's disappeared. Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying, people that have been awarded did not even apply. They did not go through the necessary procedures of buying a document, attending a briefing, then you complete and submit in time.
Okay, I hear that. So in terms of your concern, when you're calling for the suspension into this issue, I mean, who are you asking for to be suspended? Give me departments, give me names.
In the department and in the NSNP program, to be precise, there is a head of the program. So he needs to account on what has happened and transpired.
Yeah. Where do you fit in as the Service Providers Association? What I'm asking is, are you one body that pitches for a tender as one body, or in fact that each service provider pitches on their very own for new business if they can, but they somehow belong to your association. Where does it start and end?
Each company's pitch on their own, but we as the association represent each suppliers whenever there are issues to talk about regarding the NSNV.
Okay, and in doing so, I mean, besides calling for an investigation or suspension, what more can you do to be proactive in the process so that we don't have the type of bizarre thing as you've just suggested now, where, companies have won tenders without even applying?
We are hoping that someone will be able to listen and give us an opportunity to give our suggestion on how to deal with this from now onwards.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Lindane Matewane, the KZN chairperson of the National School Nutrition Program Service Providers Association. That in reflection to their allegations, there's been a marring of the tender process, which includes tender rigging, political interference, and gross procedural violations. What is this all about? Providing foods daily back to schools in the KZN region. Let's pick up, if we can, some comments from you. So earlier on, we chatted about Morocco and Jacob Zuma. Here's one.
Ashraf, Zuma is setting the country on fire negatively, because now Zuma is the one that is supporting illegal immigrants that are filling South Africa, saying that he's pushing to cancel all the borders, meaning he's agreeing that more immigrants need to come to South Africa. Hence, within our border, South Africa is the better one. Now Zuma is saying all these people need to move to South Africa. And then after that, we will say United Africa. That is nonsense.
Okay, what's that?
Kaiser here from Free State.
Kaiser from Free State. That's one comment from Kaiser. And there's more. I just want to pick out on that, on the continent story.
It's Bonga from Soweto. Well, I understand globalization, uniting, but how the Europeans did it, they first developed their continent, That's why you could take a train from France to Germany. We can't even take a bus from Cape Town to Cairo, The roads are terrible. So they must first develop the continent before they talk about uniting the continent. Not to unite the continent in order for it to be an extraction economy of the continent. Thank you.
But, maybe some may say by being united would be a way of developing the continent in the same way the European Union, for example, that they have independent nations, they have their own elections, but there's a high degree of unity. There's no borders now between those countries. That form of unity and unity of currency, in fact, adds greater value to that country or that continent. You think that's the way to do it? Here's another. President Zuma is a former. Okay, I think we've said this already. State president, and that flag, is going to be buried with him at the end. Think about it, Anonymous, right? Make that point. Okay, more to come. Lots more to come. In fact, we're going to talk about a campaign to scrap the Labour Law Amendment Bill. What exactly is that? First things first, let's get the news headlines. Just gone for 30 years on Della Imbana.
Thank you, Ashraf. On the news headlines, President Cyril Ramaphosa has signed a proclamation authorizing the Special Investigating Unit to investigate contracts awarded to Tokiso Security Services, CC, in the Northwest Province. KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development, Tembeni Gamadlo Pamtetwa, says they are aiming to vaccinate as much cattle as possible to curb foot and mouth disease. And at least 19 people have been killed in Bangladesh after an Air Force training jet crashed into a school compound in the capital, Dhaka. A full update follows at the top of the hour with Greg Rose.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the R24 westbound in Edenvale, queuing towards the N12 highway merge. The N1 southbound has delays towards Grasmere services, and the M1 southbound in central Johannesburg, slow moving towards Crown Interchange. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a stationary truck before Cliffdale, the M13 westbound in Hillcrest slow moving towards Old Main Road, and the N3 southbound has a crash reported near Moeda Vier Toll Plaza. In Cape Town, the M5 southbound slow moving towards Milner Road, the M3 southbound is slow moving towards Rhodes Drive, and Victoria Road is where crashes reported between Bantry Bay and Clifton. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
Okay, we talked about how rugby somehow is getting it all together. There's a provincial rugby squad that's getting it all together to me.
Yes, we start things off with rugby this hour, where the Blue Bulls have named a Currie Cup squad brimming with world champion junior Springboks and emerging talent. No fewer than 6 players from the junior Springboks team that lifted the World Rugby Under-20 Championship trophy have cracked the nod in the final squad of the 2025 Colin Currie Cup. The junior Boks in Bulls colours this season are SA2 Menembele Jacobus Grobler, Jean Erasmus, JJ Theron, Cheswell Justa and Dimitri Erasmus, and adding even more steel to the youthful spine of the squad are Springboks Marvin Uri and the likes of Nizam Kar and Apiwe Yankee, currently on the injured list. In football, Cape Town Spurs will this week begin arguing their case over why the 3 players who joined Kaizer Chiefs and Amazulu respectively must return to their Kamva base. SABC Sport reported earlier this month that captain Asanele Velebaye, as well as midfielder Luke Bartman, had signed new contracts with the Kaizer Chiefs as free agents. This is shortly after Spurs were relegated. Amazulu also snapped up Liam Byrne with the confidence that he too was unattached, given his employers were now in amateur ranks after dropping down from the Motsepe Foundation Championship to the ABC Motsepe League. But Spurs insist that the trio have binding agreements for at least another year and had ordered them back to training, and have now gone the legal route, with the players hell-bent on pursuing their careers elsewhere. In the meantime, Orbit College coach Pogiso Makoya says that Orlando Pirates have played a huge role in their promotion to the Premier Soccer League's Premier Division. It's not the first time that Makoya has shared now how the Pirates side have been very helpful for them. As a TVET college, Orbit lacks many resources, and according to SABC Sport, Bucks have been able to assist in a number of areas, and Makoya says even their promotion squad was mainly groomed at Pirates.
They've been very, very helpful because if you can check, I think 60% of the players that are playing right now at their peak that have helped us promote the team, those are the players that we started playing the Pirates Cup with them, and now they've matured really, and since that tournament we start having a relationship where they will sign our players, give them experience and bring back them here so they can come and assist the team.
While still staying with football, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says that he's 100% sure that the club followed the right processes when dealing with former midfielder Thomas Partey, who was under police investigation for multiple counts of rape while he was playing for the club. The Ghana midfielder left Arsenal at the end of his contract on the 30th of June and 4 days later was charged with 5 counts of rape and 1 count of sexual assault. The offences are reported to have taken place in 2021 and 2022. In the meantime, FIFA President Gianni Infantino offered the governing body support to England defender Jess Carter. This is after she revealed that she has been the target of racist abuse. This is during the Euro 2025. Carter, who is black, announced yesterday that she's stepping away from social media for the duration of the tournament. The 27-year-old has started all 4 of England's games at the tournament, but struggled in the quarterfinal win over Sweden on Thursday as the Lionesses conceded 2 first-half goals. And Football Association CEO Mark Ballingham has condemned the abuse and said that the FA has been in contact with UK police, who are in charge with the relevant social media platform, to ensure those responsible for this hate crime are brought to justice. Anything's off with cricket. Mitchell Owen made an impressive debut as Australia beat West Indies by 3 wickets to take a 1-0 lead in the 5-match T20 International Series. This is in Jamaica. Owen took a wicket with his medium pace bowling before returning to smash 50 over 27 balls as Australia chased down a 190-run target with 7 balls to spare. West Indies, who lost the preceding Test Series 3-0, got off a strong start start after being put into bed at Sabina Park. I'll have more on other sports in the next hour.
And including your list of 5 predictions on Friday and how many you got right. Don't tell us a thing now. We'll count score then.
All right then.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Okay, let's get to the numbers now with Makwe Masilela, who's the chief investment officer at Makwe Fund Managers. In fact, we're going to connect with him just in a moment or so, maybe a time, just to remind you that, in fact, we have podcasts of just about every conversation that we do on the show. So particularly today, for example, the podcast regarding the MK party's position with regard to the Sahrawi Republic in Morocco. That podcast we've got up already. You can check it out. It's been tweeted. But also, importantly, it's all housed on the website safm.co.za. Just check it out, right? So you don't have to always wait for us to tweet it out. Just go to the website and you've got it. Also, if I ask you to call in or to WhatsApp, do it ASAP, because then at least you know you'll get in first. Right, Makwe Masilela with us. Makwe, you've got news local and global, but also news about South 32.
Yes, Asraf, starting with South 32, the guys were unbundled from BHP Billiton in 2015, and then in 2019 they sold their 92% stake in SA Energy Coal to Seriti, and the guys delivered another strong quarter, and that was driven by production growth of 20% when it comes to copper and 16% growth when it comes to aluminium, and their Australian manganese resumed export shipments as they have recovered from the impact of tropical cyclone, and the group sales volume up 21%. Ashraf, China left interest rates unchanged as expected, with rates at record low levels as Beijing tries to lift their economic growth. And concerns over the economic impact of higher tariffs continue to keep investors on the edge. Trump wants a 15 to 20% tariff on European Union. And as early as tomorrow, European Union is meeting to formulate a plan for measures to respond to a possible no-deal scenario, though overwhelmingly their preference is to keep talking with Washington. And traders are apparently working out how to position themselves in case Trump does fire Fed chair, that is Jerome Powell. The expectation is that a new chair could support Trump's push to cut interest rates, and that will lower short-term yields while raising long-term ones, which are more sensitive to inflation. Oil traders weighing on what you call the new European Union sanctions on Russia, monitoring progress when it comes to trade talks, and that's ahead of the 1st of August deadline. Brent crude is down 1% at $68 a barrel. Yellow metal getting support from the safe haven demand, which is fueled by persistent uncertainty over elevated U.S. tariffs. Note that gold remained squarely in a $200 trading range, that is since April. Today's up 1.4% at 3,395. Platinum up 1% at 1,450. Global markets are mixed, with the JSE reaching new record highs. Today's up 0.7%, with resources doing most of the heavy lifting, and the rand is flat against the dollar 70.72, 23.91 against the pound, and 20.71 against the euro.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Makwe, and we'll connect with you tomorrow. But let me remind the audience, 6 to 7, 1 hour of a dip into the markets that you should not miss. The SAFM market update, 6 to 7.
Alttunes made it possible for us to travel more with the money that we save. 725. This is really real.
You are the biggest saver we've ever had.
2,794 Rand a month. It was the easiest switch ever. Get real.
How is it that Outsurance provided the solution for you?
918 Rand is what I'm saving.
Incredible.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands.
Just phone Outsurance, get a quote and see what they can offer you. If you don't save that 321 like I did, you might say get a 500 or $1,000 back. Service and savings, you'll always get something out.
What was the real deal they could offer you?
870.
That's amazing. What brought you and Outsurance together?
718 Rand. I end up saving.
They gave you the real deal.
It literally is the real deal.
Go to outsurance.co.za now for a 10-minute quote that could save you thousands. Licensed insurer and FSP. T's, C's and information online.
From the shows that bring us laughter to the moments that inspire us, your SABC TV license makes it all possible. Every license paid supports local stories, top talent, and the programs that unite South Africa. Pay your TV license today. Visit tvlic.co.za or your nearest retail outlet. #Your Screen, Your Story. Together, we make it happen.
The Morning Brief.
A few weeks ago, the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal coming out with a statement claiming that it had struck a deal with the finance minister in terms of which Itala's liquidation would be halted. Your Prudential Authority is, of course, a central player in that process, the legal process. Do you know anything about this deal? Has the finance minister engaged you? And what's expected of you in relation to the court processes that are already in play around the liquidation of Itala?
But the court process is going. I'm not aware of any deal that was reached.
That's the Reserve Bank Governor, Lesetja Kganyago.
Thulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Find the podcast at safm.co.za. You are listening to The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda.
Okay, so there's just not a day that goes by without some conflict of sorts, and conflict not in a bad way, but in many ways it reflects the robustness of South Africa's democracy, isn't it? So 40 organizations, well, just about, maybe slightly more, trade unions together with social movements and human rights advocacy groups, they've come together to form the campaign, this is what it's called, the Campaign to Scrap the Labour Law Amendment Bills. So the key is the Labour Law Amendment Bills. Now, this campaign has been meeting weekly for several months. Let's find out what exactly are their issues. With me is Lebogang Panyeko, the SAFTU National Organizer. Appreciate you connecting to us on the National Pulse.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So what is the issue?
Basically, we are going to have a certain protest for this year. We had our first protest on May Day. Then we are going directly now to NEDLAC, where this dialogue and policies are being discussed and actually discussed. The issue around our protest is that the government, business, and other trade unions actually have agreed at NEDLAC that there must be actually an amendment on the Labour Relations Act, an amendment on the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, an amendment also on the Employment Equity Act. What does that mean? Meaning actually, procedurally, at work you will have given an opportunity for you to go into a hearing. Then now with this new draft amendments especially on dismissal, workers will no longer have an opportunity to go to a hearing. Bosses can merely just have a conversation with you, and before you know it, you are being fired or dismissed.
And your understanding is that's across all sectors?
Yes. Remember, these amendments are the basic. It's labor law. It covers all the sectors, whether you're in public, whether you're in private. But we know very well the most exploiters are in the private sector, the farm workers who are actually in the existing of the laws themselves, they undermine them. So if there is a new law now, the new amendments where bosses will have to fire willy-nilly, Van der Merwe in his farm will be happy and say, actually, these laws represent us. So we are uniting with different formations, civic formations, your casual workers advice office, your independent unions, your legal officers, all of them were going to protest tomorrow. We're going to give the memorandum of demand to the executive director of NEDLAC.
I would think, it's fine to march and give the demands, and you'll do that anyway, but I would think that would have come after an attempted negotiation to be on one side regarding this issue. Have you had conversations, say, with NEDLAC in particular and other stakeholders with a view to resolving this issue?
You will remember SAFTU is part of NEDLAC, and together with COSATU, NACTU, FEDUSA. But we just to put this on record, we were only accepted to be part of NEDLAC in 2023. So when we joined the NEDLAC process, already the amendments discussions on the labor law was underway. So we joined the bus late. So by joining late, we said, look, we are not agreeing with these proposed amendments. We want the process to restart. So that's when we started to go outside the window and said we're going to protest. We have actually engaged with the different stakeholders, especially business and government, to say no, we want the process to restart. So because SAF to join the NEDLAC late, so we can't agree, and this must be taken to their members, shop stewards, who actually need to have a thorough understanding what are the implications of these labor laws.
Okay. Has there been any reaction from the other side up to now?
Not really. No. The business and government, they're steaming ahead. There is no appetite. What we're doing, we're trying to build this as a build-up towards a national general strike that will actually put the economy into a hold, workers demanding that this attack must be reversed. We will be writing to different especially progressive political formations in parliament to say, don't vote for this. Don't vote for the amendments of labor laws which will have an impact. We will also be marching in parliament, and so this is the build-up towards a real fight ahead of us.
Okay. You made the point just lastly, you will put the economy into halt, if I heard that correctly. At this time, in a very depressed economy, is that wise?
No, the only time bosses will hear is when we are in the streets, marching and fighting. So, unfortunately, this will be actually directly affecting our members, workers, your domestic workers, your retail workers, everyone will be directly impacted. They will be dismissed left, right, and center. So that's why we're saying the only time is for us is to unite everywhere. It's not a SAF2 campaign, it's a working class campaign. Every independent union, every union affiliated to COSATU, we are calling them to join this campaign because this is an independent to fight back the sweats of our democracy.
Okay, got that. Appreciate your time. So let's see what happens tomorrow outside the HQ of NADLAC, right? That's Lebogang Panieko, the SAF2 national organizer, part of 40 organizations or more, in fact, coming together to form the campaign to scrap the labor law amendment bills. Well, they are. Democracy in action, isn't it? Right, this is the National Pulse. It does mean that I need to feel your pulse. What's it telling you right after this?
Lewang Ramalepe right back. What lightens up my mood is music, R&B, sometimes it's Lokombo, sometimes reggae. I was good in athletics. I used to run the 800 meters. Me as a president, hey, what I would change? Unemployment and fixing the economy. To all our fans, you can watch the game on SABC Sport. We are the African champions. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Keeping your family healthy this winter can feel like a daunting task. Try the Lung Shield range. It includes capsules to support healthy lungs and immunity, a syrup for kids that supports the immune system and promotes lung health, and an effervescent with 13 essential ingredients to optimize immune function. Put your family's health first this winter with the Lung Shield range. Available without a prescription at leading pharmacies. Lung Shield, prescribed by doctors, recommended by pharmacists.
Ashraf Garda is streaming live now on Facebook, YouTube, and X at SAFM Radio. You're listening to the National Pulse.
And you have those options, right? Besides listening just on radio as you would think of it traditionally, it's not linear any longer. So you heard that, YouTube, streaming live audio, video, all those available. And you can also download the SABC Plus app where you can listen to us live. I do that very, very often. I'm just telling you. Right, let's get your comments. Pele, I like the name. Pele in Kroonstad. Go for it. Hello.
How are you, Atras?
Yeah, very good indeed. Go for it. What's your point?
your interviews these days, they leave me amazed at the manner in which you are dealing with these people that you interview that are so difficult at times. I remember that pastor from America.
Yes, I do.
The friend of Trump, and I was asking myself, how do you manage to listen to hogwash like that without getting angry?
Well, I'm not going to say he's speaking hogwash, but I suppose his job is to answer questions. My job is to ask on your behalf, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand. Now, I want to talk about this interview that we had with this new political party, MK Party.
Did you say new political party? They're going to say they're not new any longer. They're racing, yeah. Okay, but go for it about Morocco, yeah?
Yeah, no, I don't understand the thinking of their president. The president who's now siding with the oppressor, when all along his fight was against the oppressor. And indeed, I don't understand unless what you asked about funding might be the reason why they are so supporting Morocco against what South Africans have always been for, supporting of those who are oppressed. So indeed, I really don't understand unless that it is something that they're benefiting from that relationship.
Well, I mean, look, we don't have the idea, but I hear your point. The spokesperson making the point, saying that we're receiving no money, but there'll be an announcement next week which suggests something's coming up about some sort of funding. I mean, I'm just guessing based upon what was said at the very, very end. But it does seem rather strange, and their reason, according to what was said in the interview, and people can listen to it, is that, we're doing this because we want a united Africa. But how do you do united Africa without uniting the countries first?
Yeah,
and then getting it together? I mean, really, yeah. In fact, we're battling with political parties. Yeah.
As a South Africans will always be with the oppressed.
Well, point made. Pelair in Kurisa, thanks for the comments and the concerns about the difficulties of handling interviews, because it is complex. It's like trying to score a try when you've got five players from the opposition team defending you to prevent you getting the try line, and you somehow manage to navigate all of that. Right, the conversation with Swaziland, Eswatini, here's one.
Afternoon, Ashraf. Malisalena Mpumalanga originally from Limpopo. Ashraf, your guest from the opposition party in the Swaziland, Eswatini, gave me a scare, to be honest. He said it will start with the prisoners. The next thing you'll hear that the USA wants a base in Swaziland. To think that there's already a base in Botswana, now there'll be a base in Swaziland. The next thing, the US will be invading South Africa.
Well, but the other scare is that he spoke about an uprising. Did you hear that? You did hear that, didn't you? Here's another a story that certainly was part of the conversation this weekend.
Good day, Mr. Ashraf and SAFM listeners. I just want to comment on some news that I have heard this morning on the radio about some kids of Mzansi that is stranded in Spain. They went there to go and play with their academy. Yes, I think SAFA must now take over the whole situation and let those people come back home, and afterwards do the investigations and the necessary steps that must be taken against those who didn't follow the protocol. And I think SAFA must be informed whenever academies go overseas, because they represent South Africa, even though they going with academy. So SAFA must now take over those things.
Well, I mean, all that you said about SAFA, the problem is, and some may say so critically, this SAFA doesn't have its act together on so many issues. So how are they going to handle another issue? But you would think it's right that they do represent South Africa in many ways. I would think that besides SAFA getting them back home, inevitably it would be part of DIRCO, international relations, because any citizen of South Africa who is in some sort of trouble or distress abroad, it would ultimately then mean that DIRCO gets involved.
Hey, afternoon, Ashraf. On the question of Mukonazi, there are people that I call comprador, tenderpreneur, bourgeois. When you speak of a comprador, we are saying somebody's been fronted. These alleged criminals were caught. They are being fronted by real criminals. They are not doing this thing on themselves. That's why I call them comprador, tenderpreneur, bourgeois. They are being used. Our black brothers are used.
And used by who? I mean, you're not very clear about who's using them. Who's at the center of power with all this. Well, keep them coming. Keep the calls coming. Love to hear from you. 086 000 2032 if you're calling in live. And then you have the options to WhatsApp 0614 104 107. 30 seconds of voice note, please. You always have the option to tweet out hashtag the National Pulse when you're tagging us, right? Here's another.
Afternoon, man. Flores here from the beautiful Western Cape. Despicable. That's where my one word for Jacob Zuma. Well, he's allowed to go and visit anyone in any country whenever he likes. But this is pure a move to get funding. And then to use the South African flag as if he was mandated by the South African citizenship, that he should go there and talk on our behalf. So that's my issue. He could also have been there with his flag supporting Banyana. So, yeah. But mainly he's there for funding. Have a good job. Bye-bye.
Mainly he's there for funding and not fun. Ding, as in F-U-N, and then separate word, D-I-N. Okay, I get that. Right, I tell you what, keep the calls coming. By the way, there's I mentioned to you that there's podcasts of all the things that we do, and you can pick up those podcasts anytime. So certainly some of the issues we've already discussed, those podcasts are available. Just go safm.coza, download it. Even if you've heard it already, have a chat over supper with your family about it. Share that conversation on your WhatsApp groups, because that's the quickest way I know, information spreads these days. And let me know what they think about it in terms of family conversations that you may have. Here's one. I notice at parents' school meetings a recurring theme of non-payment of school fees. Maybe the parents need a tax incentive to be motivated. I don't know if I hear what you're saying. I think the reality is that non-payment is a reflection of the financial constraints that people live in. Really, whether you're middle class, unless you're super wealthy, middle class, and people are working class, it is a battle. It is a battle between your income and your expenses and trying to make sure that ends meet every single month. It is never easy. When you hear about the prices of utility bills, it just rockets, and if you don't pay, they're going to cut you off, and you take a chance and they cut you off anyway, or they don't cut you. It is a nightmare. And then the amount of money you pay for repairing your tires with pothole damages, all things that were never part of your life before. And yes, maybe you can claim, but listen, you're wasting your time, as many may say. I'm just saying to you, it's very difficult to actually make ends meet in this world, in this time right now, in South Africa. And perhaps if you want to just share a personal story about yours, about seriously, how do you make ends meet? Unless you're super wealthy, we don't need to know about that part. Anybody else, how do you make ends meet? Is there a way, a trick around it that you can survive and float and breathe every month, or the beginning of the month, every single time? We all want to know about it. We all really do want to know about it. 5 o'clock, it's time for the news. Here's Greg House.
Thank you, Ashraf. The SIU to probe Northwest security contracts and dozens killed in Bangladesh plane crash. Good day to you. President Cyril Ramaphosa signed a proclamation authorizing the SIU to probe contracts awarded to Tokiso Security Services in the Northwest. The probe at the Northwest Development Corporation has been expanded to include a contract given to Tokiso Security Company to provide security services to the corporation and other provincial government entities. Tebogo Pakedi reports.
The expansion of the investigation will allow the SIU to determine whether the security service contracts were awarded appropriately and if any irregularities, maladministration or financial losses to the state occurred during the procurement process. The SIU will investigate whether proper procedures were followed in appointing Tokiso Security Services and whether any officials, employees or service providers acted improperly. Additionally, the amendment extends the investigation period to include conduct up to the date of the proclamation's publication. Deborah Package, SABC News.
The Weather Service is forecasting cold weather in parts of Gauteng for this week. Partly cloudy conditions are expected to continue. Forecaster Lehlohonola Tobela.
With maximums peaking at 17 degrees in Johannesburg, 17 in Vereeniging, and a maximum of 18 in Pretoria. Now in our weather for tomorrow, still expecting partly cloudy conditions for most parts of the province tomorrow, with cool temperatures over the northern parts. Cloudy conditions are expected to persist for the central and the eastern parts of Gauteng. Otherwise, can expect partly cloudy conditions with cold temperatures over the southern parts of the province.
The KwaZulu-Natal MEC for Agriculture and Rural Development, Mbeni Kamatlopa, says they're aiming to vaccinate as much cattle as possible to curb foot and mouth disease. KZN is one of the provinces which has been hardest hit by the animal disease and currently has at least 60 cases. The MEC says the red meat disease has affected both commercial and private farmers.
Initially it was bad, but we were able to manage it because our vet services, they were out vaccinating each and every herd, especially in the communal land. And later on it was discovered that there is also private farms from the commercial farmers that are affected, and we have already started now vaccinating even for those commercial farmers, and they have agreed that let us work as a team so that we fight the disease in the province.
Judge Diapolo says counteracting voter apathy is a collective responsibility encompassing the IEC, political parties and the state. She's seeking another 7-year stint as an IEC commissioner after having first been appointed to the position in 2018. She's one of 11 candidates being interviewed in Midrand, north of Johannesburg, over the next 2 days by a panel chaired by Chief Justice Mandisa Maya to fill 3 vacant positions in the Electoral Commission. Judge Pillay previously served as an acting judge in the Supreme Court, a High Court judge in KZN, and at the Labour Court until 2010.
In the previous elections, we had a 63% voter turnout. In the last elections, it was 58%. It is a worry for everybody, not just the IEC. The IEC is doing what it is meant to do: educate, outreach, communicate, but we're not the only player in exciting people to get to the ballot box. Voters are disaffected, and HSRC's survey attributes a good part of that to the lack of service deliveries.
At least 19 people have been killed in Bangladesh after an Air Force training jet crashed into a school compound in the capital, Dhaka. The BBC's Yogita Lamai has more.
The jet was on a training flight when it lost control and crashed into the campus of the Milestone School in Dhaka's Uttara neighbourhood. Eyewitnesses have told the BBC's Bengali service that they saw the burning plane crash into one of the buildings in the complex. The chief of Bangladesh's fire department has said the building housed classrooms for 2nd and 4th grade students. Many of the injured are in critical condition.
The top story: President Ramaphosa signed a proclamation authorising the SIU to probe contracts awarded to Tokiso Security Services in the Northwest. That's SAFM News. I'm Greg Gos.
In your sports, the Sour Kaiser Chiefs drops new season kit and Junior Bucks make heroes return to South Africa. More details at 5:30.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, Wit Deep Road in Boksburg is closed through Delmore Park. In Midrand, the N1 northbound slow moving towards Samrand Road, and the N1 southbound queuing towards Buccleuch Interchange. In KZN, the N3 westbound has a stationary truck reported before Cliffdale. In Cape Town, the N1 outbound is slow moving towards the R300 interchange. The R44 southbound in Stellenbosch, slow moving towards Jamestown, and Victoria Road outbound has a crash reported at Woodstock. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
Champions need motivation above and beyond winning. South Africa, show your love and support for the WAFCON defending champions by Yana Bayana. Witness the CAF Total Energies Women's Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2024 from 5 to 26 July 2025 on SABC Plus, S3, SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and SABC radio stations. Where Africa competes, South Africa connects. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the soundtrack of your life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. The National Pulse with Ashraf Garda on SAFM. You're listening to the National Pulse, weekdays 3 to 6 p.m.
Right, so I tell you what, we had a conversation, in fact, two takes of a conversation regarding three different entities. The MK party in South Africa, the government of the Kingdom of Morocco, right? The Sahrawi people, and then I mentioned three, I should add four, DIRCO, South Africa's International Relations Department, all around that issue of MK, the Morocco, as well as the Sahrawi people, the Sahrawi Republic, right? Let's take it a step further in understanding what's it all about from a perspective of Professor David Monyai. Now, he, amongst other things, is the director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at UJ. Prof. Monyai, good to connect with you on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon.
Good. Are you surprised, firstly, that, because I know now DIRCO said they're going to write an official complaint to Morocco for effectively giving a sense optically that this was a state meeting by having the flag of South Africa alongside of Morocco, alongside the former president of our country. Meaning, does this get the pulses racing? Is it worth getting pulses racing over?
I'm not surprised at all. I think at government-to-government level, I think it is within South African government to lodge that complaint at that level. But having said that, I think there's a second level in which the government could also look into the abuse of the status of being a former head of state. I think what we are observing with the late president in Zambia is the fact that there is certain violation of the usage of former head of state, because the government gives the former head of state free transport, accommodation, and a certain level of protocol. And in this instance, I think the former head of state abused some elements of it. For him, even though he didn't state that, but one of his officials who spoke was speaking at the level of government to government. We are here as a country. At a political level as well, the ANC, the abuse of ANC, individual former head of state. So there are a lot of things that went wrong. But all said, as a leader of the MKP party, former President Jacob Zuma has a right to visit any country he wants, as long as it does not violate these other issues that appear glaring and violated.
So you get a sense that, in fact, because we talk about the issue of Morocco in a moment, right? This is just simply about the flag and the representation in the public space. Do you get a sense, therefore, that Jacob Zuma and the MK party and their spokesperson, in fact, did violate that relationship and the protocols around it?
Oh, indeed. The manner in which the statement was given, the Moroccans as well abused, manipulated domestic issues. So in the complaint that the South African government should lodge or going to lodge, it's interference in internal politics. For them to elevate a former head of state to a state-to-state relation. I think that's what went wrong. The flag was not supposed to have been there. Meeting a foreign affairs person. I mean, when we have former high-level head of states or embassies in this country, whenever they want to meet political leaders, they are required to inform the government, and the protocol as well. At times, the ruling party, depends how close they are, and avoid to be seen to be interfering in domestic affairs of a country. So in this instance, the king could have, he met the king. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. He could have met anyone else, including the foreign minister, but without dressing it up as a state-to-state engagement. I think that's what is the issue.
Okay,
the rest, it's just political, which is to speak more about the ideological or confusion of the ideological of MKP. Where does it really stand on African issue? It's a separate issue that we could also speak deeply on.
So let's stay with the diplomatic gambit for the moment, right? South Africa's response. I had a chat earlier with the MK Party's head of International Relations Committee, that's Makasela Mzobe, right? And he made the point that, in fact, he knows of cases where, and I think he mentioned the Secretary General of the ANC also traveling abroad and also carrying the South African flag with him, giving the semblance of an official head of state or a state meeting, although he was part of the ANC and not, right? Now that stands to be corrected or not, right? But the question here is, should then South Africa take it a step further? Meaning, is it a big enough issue to take a step further, or in the midst of so many other issues, is not the prize with regard to Morocco, in fact, trying to resolve the issue regarding the Sahrawi people?
Oh yes. From a government to government and rules, standing orders, and all what governs intergovernmental relation. I think so many things went wrong. I think it's becoming a commonplace. It's becoming popular much more in a government of national unity setting. I think we are just coming out of a situation in which so many parties that are going United States, hurting South Africa's standing, and protocol issues. So it's not just Moroccan government that seem to be interfering in South Africa's domestic affairs. United States is doing the same. And so many other countries that are taking advantage of the nature and character of the current politics in this country. And therefore, I think it's high time that the government has to look at the rules and legal people to really fine-tune it. When do you stand using the flag, and what kind of protocol should be accorded to anyone, particularly at that high level? The moment you use the diplomatic passport and as a South African, the moment you step outside the country, there are certain things that you don't do.
Okay. Now, Crispin Peary from DIRCO has already confirmed that, in fact, they will write to their counterparts in Morocco, expressing their, disappointment as to what had happened. But they haven't indicated they will do the same thing to the MK Party or to Jacob Zuma. What do you make of that?
It's a bit tricky on the other part, because he claimed, former President Zuma, that he's still a member of ANC, even though he was expelled. He's just a former head of state and is highly respected. And the government has to ensure that he's protected wherever he is. Obviously, more likely to have had bodyguard from South Africa, and when he receives bodyguards the other side, free transport, SAA or any other way. They ensure that he travels any part of the world he so wish, and a number of privilege that he enjoys, and therefore what I don't know from a legal perspective, that is what DERCO has to do to fine-tune those privileges in a way, not just for him. I think we're now having more and more former head of states and other important members of society that are accorded those kind of privileges. To what extent can you use the state, where and how? Unless the president sends him to any part of the world as a special envoy to continue the business of government. I think that is possible, but still there are certain ways in which the manner in which the setting of the Moroccan former President Zuma meeting, it was done at a level of government to government, at the foreign minister and president to president level.
Okay, as we conclude, let's then move on to the other issue, which is at this point in time, and correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding is South Africa are supportive of the stance of the Sahrawi people, that in fact they want independence, to be an independent state, and that would be the position of the African Union, and that also would be the position of the United Nations, right? But again, correct me if I'm wrong on any of those three. Now, what do you make then of the MK party's turnaround position, but in fact they would support self-governance within Morocco as we know it, and nothing else?
But this is bizarre, shockingly, manner in which former president has, at the level of his own personal politics, his entire life has been a leader of a party that he has a strategic relationship with Western Sahara people. I think they were in the same trenches in MK. He knows more than most of us. He was in the forefront of implementing these decisions. And even when he was in power, he was advocating the independence of Western Sahara people. So at the level of that's the ANC, and most liberation movements carry this progressive internationalism, that we are pro independence of Palestinian people, the Morocco and the Cuban question, a number of things that ANC and these liberation movements were in the forefront, and these are allies. For him to cross the floor and really fully support the Moroccan government, which it's an imperialistic, a colonialist, and supported by imperialist forces, France, United States, and others. It's quite shocking, whether it's for money or anything else. I think it will be for him to explain why sudden change of his ideological outlook, and for the party itself. But it speaks volumes in terms of where we're going as a country, in terms of we might differ politically, different political parties have a right to support whoever, but there's a certain standard of a post-1994 where majority of South African, what kind of issues do they support in international community?
Okay, just a quick answer as we conclude. Amongst the allegations are, well, that's the case for the MK party because they're being funded by the Moroccan government, funded before and funded continuing. It's a question I put to the spokesperson. He vehemently denied that, but also did say in the same answer that there'll be some announcement made next week about some form of collaboration, not for the party, but something else. I mean, what do you make of that?
It's also shocking. Unless the government sent him to indirectly as back channels discussion, but I doubt very much. It's one of those issues with the politics of former President Zuma, which is quite surprising that at this stage he could pull such a stand, which even within his own MK party, because majority of MK party are former ANC members.
That's very true.
Therefore, I think they will be equally surprised by that move.
Well, there we are. Surprise, surprise. Director of the Center for Africa-China Studies at UJ, Professor David Monyai. Much appreciate your time here on the National Pulse. And with, by the way, there's a tweet yesterday from Carl Niau saying, this is disgusting, absolutely shameful. The MK party is bereft of any liberation ideology. This is a disgusting, a total sellout and betrayal of the people of the Western Sahara.
It's fire, flavour and fierce competition on the Tastemaster SA this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2. The semi-finals heat up as the final three transform the humble braai into a gourmet three-course showstopper, with Chef Sean Scrooby turning up the pressure. Who will flame out and who will sear their place in the grand finale? The Tastemaster SA, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. on SABC2. It's fire, flavour and fierce competition on the Tastemaster SA this Tuesday evening at 7:30 on SABC2. The semi-finals heat up as the final three transform the humble braai into a gourmet three-course showstopper, with Chef Sean Scrooby turning up the pressure. Who will flame out and who will sear their place in the grand finale? The Tastemaster SA, Tuesday evenings at 7:30, repeat Wednesdays at 1 and Sundays at 4 p.m. on SABC2.
The Morning Brief.
How do we make sure that the next 75 years of SABC News is great?
My view is that the SABC News in particular, is the biggest news organization on the continent. And I think the question of the funding of SABC is one that correctly perspectives you, and it also frustrates other people as well. That why can't a decision be taken that this is how the SABC is going to be funded so that it can be sustainable? Because it looks like, there is sometimes politicians want to squeeze the SABC so that it behaves in a certain way, and then they can fund it the way it's supposed to be funded. And it shouldn't be that way. It must remain independent. It must be a public broadcaster, and never should it be a state broadcaster.
That's Makosini Mkitwa, independent political and social commentator.
Tulasizwe Simelane on The Morning Brief. Ashraf Garda on The National Pulse.
Right, you've been watching it, I know, but catch episode 3 of Chasing the Sun, that episode that effectively connects us to that amazing journey of the Springboks winning the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Chasing the Sun, it was in the land of the rising sun in Japan, wasn't it? So episode 3 comes up this Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2. And by the way, if you're up for it, just download the SABC Plus app, and that allows you to stream each chapter anytime, anywhere, no subscription needed. You got it? Chasing the Sun, Sunday, 7:30 p.m. on SABC2.
You're listening to The National Pulse.
Right, here's another issue that may well disturb you. I'll take your calls just now. I really want to hear what you have to say about many of the things we've discussed already, what moves the National Pulse today. So now let's hear from the Joburg Metro Police, as 2 officers from the organization have been arrested on charges of extortion and corruption. The JMPD spokesperson, Xolani Pila, has confirmed that the complainant who brought this matter to their attention alleged that the 2 officers demanded 8,000 rand. So with me then, the spokesperson of the JMPD, Xolani Pila. Appreciate your time. You're on the National Pulse.
Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and then may greet the listeners as well.
Thank you. Right, so, while of course we're all ears, what is the story?
Yes, we can confirm as the JMPD that unfortunately 2 of our members have been arrested on charges of extortion and corruption. This is after we had received a complaint alleging that the officers had demanded and extorted 8,000 rand, accusing an individual that their company driver had fled an accident scene. With the information they received from the complainant, the especially with the vehicle's registration that the officers were using. That was tracked by our Internal Affairs unit, which then found the officers located at a filling station in Parktown, where 3 officers were then found and searched, and the vehicle was also searched as well. And after that, our Internal Affairs unit uncovered 5,340 rand, which most the officers couldn't account for, and some of the money was also found concealed in the vehicle. And from these actions, then the Internal Affairs officers arrested the 2 males who were found in possession of the money, and they were charged with these charges of extortion and corruption.
Been found in possession of, just to confirm how much, because the demand was 8,000 rands, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the demand was 8,000 rand. That's what the complainant is alleging was extorted. But from the search that was conducted by our Internal Affairs unit, it was just over 5,000 rand that was found in possession
which is
of the
still
officers.
quite massive. Does this surprise you?
Not necessarily. We have been receiving numerous complaints, and of course, it's not a secret. And this definitely does paint the whole department in a bad light. We do know that we have bad apples within our ranks, and this is one of the proactive measures of us making sure that we do root them out. But we have a lot of dedicated officers who, on a day in and day out basis, make sure that they do serve the residents of the city of Johannesburg with utmost pride and dedication.
So what happens next? What happens next to the 2 police officers in terms of now the line of next from alleged to arrested to what happens next?
What's happening next, since they have been charged with extortion and corruption, that's both an internal case and externally as in criminal charges. And the matter will be investigated by our Internal Affairs unit, of course, getting statements and any evidence from the complainant, and also getting statements from the defendants as well, the officers in this case. And from that, then it will be determined what further action will be taken. But at the most, and especially if they are found guilty with such charges, then it is most likely that they will be dismissed from the department.
And maybe lastly, just leave us with this. I mean, there's been a sense that it is the culture of our, police officers, wherever they're, not just Joburg or something, but around the country, that in fact, if they can elicit a bribe or solicit a bribe, they're going to do just that anyway, right? And on the other hand, from the public, if they can avoid paying a hefty fine anywhere, they're going to pay the bribe because, let's just split the losses and move on. So, I mean, there's just so many stories around that, right? How do we navigate around that? If that is the culture, keeping in mind, I mean, there could be many sort of at small level, 50 rand, 100 rands, that you can't literally go and convict all the time. The practicalities may not be there. How do you change that culture of us as a people?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true, and our biggest stakeholder most definitely is the community, and that's why we would encourage for them, one, not to offer officers bribes, but secondly, to report matters like this, always be cognizant and always respect the law of the country. I know that the story of corruption does not only lie within the police fraternity alone. It's across the board, and especially regarding government departments. So it is important for our biggest stakeholder as the community to always raise an eyebrow, but also make sure that you do report it so that matters can be taken into action. And we do commend the complainant for coming forward. And of course, the matters then will be investigated. And if it is proven, then we do remove the bad apples from our department.
Okay, the bad apples. Got that. Xolani Fila, the JMPD spokesperson. Much appreciate you connecting with us on the National Pulse. And of course, we will stay connected to that story. No question about that. By the way, I asked a question about the Springboks, and I made the point from the Springboks to the junior or the baby box and the Blitz Blocker, got that right, that they're doing something right, not just on the field, but in terms of their transformation, certainly at selection level, that appears to be working. So they're transforming without compromising excellence to the point where, in fact, it's enhancing excellence. Now, are there any examples of that you can think about where the stronger together outside of rugby that is manifesting in South Africa? I'd really love to know from you about it, because that's top of my wish list. 5:30, here's Greg Host with the news headlines.
Quick look at the headlines. The City of Cape Town's JP Smith has urged the state in the case of a suspect accused of murdering a traffic officer to reconsider its decision not to oppose bail for the suspects. The President has signed a proclamation authorising the SIU to probe contracts awarded to Tokiso Security Services in the Northwest, and a Kenyan human rights activist has been charged with the unlawful possession of ammunition. There's a full update at 6 o'clock.
SAFM, guiding you through the rush hour traffic.
Good afternoon. Starting off in Gauteng, the N1 southbound in four ways queuing towards Winnie Mandela Drive. The N3 southbound in Bedfordview has a crash near Van Buren Road, and Grayston Drive eastbound in Sandton queuing towards the M1 highway. In KZN, the M7 St John's Avenue is slow moving through central Pinetown, the N2 northbound queuing towards the M41 Gateway exit, and the R102 southbound queuing towards the M25 Commercial Highway. In Cape Town, the N3 northbound in Dunoon is queuing towards Malibongwe Drive off-ramp. Marine Drive outbound is queuing between Milnerton and Sunset Beach, and Baden-Powell Drive in Khayelitsha slow moving between the N2 highway and Jafta K Masimola Road. With your traffic update, I'm Irma G.
This is SAFM Sports with Tuming Kapele.
So, Tumi, you've been wearing the sports jerseys of different, the country and different teams. I saw you wearing a Pirates top. I saw you wearing a Mamelodi Sundowns top, if I'm not mistaken. You're probably going to wear a Chiefs top soon, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh,
one
really?
of these good
Okay.
days, I'll definitely be wearing one because they just launched their new kit, and the Kaizer Chiefs marketing and commercial director Jessica Motaung says that the club's new kits are rooted in African art and creativity. Now, Chiefs unveiled the club's new home and away kit this morning, which will be first worn during Saturday's Toyota Cup against Asante Kotoko.
Exciting is this new season. We're preparing for the season and excited about the possibilities and making sure that we're ready. Excited to launch the jersey today. Home, which is going back to our heritage in terms of the classic collar, which we haven't had since we've united with Kappa. So very excited about that. Something very bold and strong. The sleeves really giving us that African print that says we're ready to be on the continent and to fight for everything on the continent. And then obviously going with the grey and gold. You know, we haven't done grey in a long time, and looking at something that's very much on the combat side, but also to say that the jersey is not just about playing. It represents in the cultural streets of South Africa, in the African streets on the continent, and just is built within the lifestyle space as well. So very excited about the new kit and looking forward to the players playing in it in the Toyota Cup this weekend.
Then still staying with football, former Banyana midfielder Pinky Majekane says that Banyana should not think too much about what Nigeria has achieved in the past, but should play as a unit and remain self-motivated going into the next game as they face the Super Falcons tomorrow in the WAFCON semi-finals.
To retain the title, I think confidence, I think self-motivation, group work, leave alone what Nigeria has accomplished. We have accomplished that as well as a nation, as women's footballers. So I think going into this encounter, we should be self-motivated. We should be highly self-motivated, and we shouldn't expect less of ourselves, and we shouldn't even respect Nigeria like that, because I mean, if we were able to beat them over the years, we can do it now. Like I said, we just need to be disciplined. We just need to, communicate well. We just need to be have that discipline, especially at the back in the middle field. But also, we just need to have those strikers to come back and collect the ball, and then make sure we support each other, basically.
In the meantime, FIFA President Gianni Infantino offered the governing body's support to England defender Jess Carter after she revealed that she has been the target of racist abuse during the Euro 2025. Carter, who is black, announced yesterday that she's stepping away from social media for the duration of the tournament. The 27-year-old has started all 4 of England's games at the tournament, but struggled in their quarterfinal win over Sweden on Thursday as the Lionesses conceded 2 first-half goals. In rugby, the Blue Bulls Bulls have named a Currie Cup squad brimming with world champion junior Springboks and emerging talent. No fewer than 6 players from the junior Springboks team that lifted the World Rugby Under-20 Championship trophy have cracked the nod in the final squad for the 2025 Colin Currie Cup. The junior Boxer in Bulls colours this season are SA2 Menembele Yakwebes Grobler, Jean Erasmus, JJ Tehran, Jeswell Juster, and Dimitri Erasmus. Then in athletics, SA sprint sensation Bayanda Walaza says that he's quite confident about another milestone in the 100-meter in Germany for his first ever FISU World University Games. He competes in heat races today and says that he's in his peak form.
I came back from USA, and after coming back from USA, I needed to rest, because it's the body. So that's why it took me 1 week to come back. I had that one other week of not doing hard training, but just making sure that I'm recovering. And then I had this last week, for preparation, making sure that do my blocks, do everything proper, put in the speed, put in everything. So I'll say the preparation looked great. I'm in my greatest form.
Before I go, Ashraf, my predictions for this weekend.
Yes.
As we know, the junior box did win. They did prove me wrong, so I got that one completely wrong. Got Springboks versus Georgia very right because South Africa won.
Easy one, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I did say City Lads is going to beat Royal AM in the Hollywood Bet Super League. However, it was a goalless draw. Absolutely interesting game that was. They should have scored both sides, but the goalkeepers were strong enough from both sides, so it was a goalless draw. I was wrong. And Banyana versus Senegal. That game went on forever.
Two penalties.
Two penalties, and obviously Banyana won. And yeah, I got that one right. So, which I just forgot the last one.
Oh, goodness.
I literally forgot the last one. But yeah, 2 out of 4.
2 out of 4. That's
Not bad.
That's
50.
average, yeah.
Yeah.
Just saying, just average. Okay. Work at it.
I need to work at it. I'll be back again tomorrow.
My name is Casey Gordon. I'm the Banyana goalkeeper. My favorite music is all over the place. I love listening to all kinds of things, but I'd have to say maybe pop culture. My favorite pet is my cat. I love cats. They're so cute. My cat's name is Bailey. My favorite dish is pizza. Obviously, it's not a great dish as an athlete, but I love pizza. When I'm not playing football, I love to be with my friends and my family, and I love playing netball as well.
Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
Hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival in partnership with SAFM, where music, culture and community come alive. Join us on the 2nd of August 2025 at Pretoria Botanical Gardens from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal musician Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Zing Lumalo, Trompis, and many more. More than just music. Share stories, spark change, and unite against gender-based violence. Grab your tickets at imbaula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm, feel the heat. Imbaula.
Okay, in partnership with SAFM, hear the rhythm, feel the heat at the Imbaula Music Festival, where music, culture and community comes alive. This all happens on the 2nd of August 2025 at the Pretoria Botanical Gardens. And you can join us 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. to vibe to Sanal musician Calvin Momo, Amanda Black, Z Ngumalo, Trumpis and more. More than music, share stories, spark change, unite against gender-based violence. And grab your tickets at imbawula.co.za. Brought to you by SAFM and SABC1. Hear the rhythm. I need to say that again so you can catch it correctly. Hear the rhythm. Feel the heat. Imbawula.
Economic news on SAFM. Facts and figures you can count on.
Right, so first day of the week for Jimmy Moya as he hosts the SAFM Market Update coming up from 6 to 7. Jimmy, good to connect with you as always. You have an issue around government promises. Tell me about that.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Good afternoon to the listeners. It's quite an interesting conversation that I'm going to be having a little later on with Khaya Sithole around that particular conversation around the government or the government promises. It seems that there have been several promises made, most recently by the Minister of Trade, Industry and Competition, and some of those numbers that are being mentioned in these promises, things like creating 6.4 million jobs, don't seem to align with some of the research. And so it sparked a bigger question around some of the figures that come through from a government perspective. We've heard things from different departments as well around things like growth prospects and GDP outlooks for South Africa. And then you look at the South African story and you start to ask questions around how people are projecting these numbers and what the basis is for that. So I thought we'd have a conversation around that and see whether or not the numbers support the real story on the ground, especially from an economic point of view, and understanding the challenges that we continue to face. I mean, one of those challenges, and this is not going to be covered on this show, it might be covered later in this week, but one of the challenges is that at this point we still may not have a budget. But again, story for another day on that one. What we're going to be taking a look at on the show as well is we're going to be taking a look at the battle that's hotting up in Eastern Europe, or at least for the Eastern European property portfolio that kind of sits between the high prop business and another investor. It looks as though there's been a couple of conversations around that, possible unsolicited offers potentially not being fair and, in the words of other partners, value destructive. So we're going to take a look at that and see what all of the fuss is about with Eastern European property in that portfolio as well. And then we're going to take a look at the announcement by China that was made very, very quietly around rare metals quotas. We know that the China rare earth metal conversation has been quite a topical conversation, particularly as it relates to the likes of the US and all of the global conversations. And China issued an announcement around those quotas recently, and it was a very quiet announcement, such that it was almost missed by all of the international media. But it is quite an important announcement because it speaks to a lot around the tech space, the development in the tech industries, and all of those areas where those rare earth metals are going to be used. So we're going to look into that. We're going to dig into that announcement around the quotas and see what we make of that. Then we've got a conversation with the team at Luxi around something that they've developed to help consumers better understand their electricity consumption and better manage that. And then we're going to wrap up the show with a personal finance segment, taking a look at the financial advisory side of things and why only 9% of South Africans have professional financial advisors, despite the size of the population that we have. So we've got all of that coming up on the show a little later on. Before we get to that, a sense of how the markets have been moving. When you and I last spoke, Ashraf, on Friday, I mentioned that this week, potentially this month, we could be seeing the JSE head towards 100,000 points. I can safely say we are very close to that. We moved quite a bit today, almost a full % up on the all-share side of things, and we could potentially hit 100,000 points as soon as tomorrow, early in the week. So that's something to keep an eye on. That was largely today driven by resources moving up almost 5%. Industrials were flat, financials were down 0.4%, the all-share was up about 1.1%. And if we look at the resource pricing, the gold price was the big standout mover there, going back towards $3,400 a fine ounce at one stage, currently sitting just below that. The platinum pricing, $1,484, palladium just under $1,300. Oil prices still holding steady below $70 a barrel at $68.80. But those stronger commodity prices definitely driving resources, and I'm going to chat to Gary Boyson about that on markets when we come back a little later on. Quick look at the rand, 17.71 against the US dollar, 23.91 against the pound, 20 Rand 74 against the euro, 11.57 against the Australian dollar, and a Bitcoin is at $118,000 per Bitcoin, around just under 2.1 million rand per Bitcoin, so 2,099,000 rands there. But that will likely go back above 2.1 million overnight. If we look at international markets before we go, the Nasdaq up 0.7%, the S&P up 0.5%, US markets doing well, bit of a mixed bag in terms of Asian markets. only the Chinese markets were in the green. The Nikkei was closed today for a banking holiday, and the ASX in Sydney was down about 1%. European markets were basically flat to non-moving, except for the CAC that was down 0.4%. So we've got lots to look at for this week. We've got inflation coming out of South Africa this week. I'm going to get Gary's expectations on that. But of course, these conversations are for just after the 6 p.m. news. For now, Ashraf, back to you.
Okay, perfect. You have a good show, 6 to 7, and then followed by sport, 7 to 8. So lots to consider here and more, right, on, not SAFM, not the National Pulse, definitely so on SAFM. We've got 15 more minutes on the National Pulse, and you know what's the good news? We've got 15 minutes which we're going to share with you and I talking to each other right after this.
If you think you cannot afford a lawyer, think again. Clientele Legal has made professional legal services affordable for you. Whether it's a civil, criminal, or labor-related matter, we have a nationwide panel of attorneys standing by to assist you. SMS SAFM to 32195. That's SAFM to 32195 and we'll call you back. Clientele General is a licensed non-life insurer and an authorized FSP. Standard rates and terms and conditions apply.
When they walk on the pitch, both teams will believe they will triumph, but reality kicks in during 90 minutes of action. Who will dance to victory between UJ ladies and First Touch ladies? This is the Hollywood Bet Super League. Witness Mzansi Queens of the beautiful game. UJ ladies versus First Touch ladies on Sunday 27 July at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC 1 and at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Also available on SABC radio stations at 3 p.m. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
SAFM, in collaboration with the Standard Bank Joy of Jazz, brings you the Jazz for Young People concert, happening at the National School of the Arts on the 26th of July 2025. Tune in to Seasons and the soundtrack of your life, broadcasting live. This unique event is a powerful celebration of youth, creativity, and community spirit. Bring the whole family to enjoy a wonderful day of world-class jazz from young musicians, curated by Zoe Mudicha, featuring National School of the Arts Band, Willow Crescent Magnet School of Music Band, Biko's Manor, and many others. Have fun while doing good. Tickets are available at Quicket for just 80 Rand and 50 Rand for kids under 12. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. You're listening to the National Pulse.
Okay, let's hear from you. There's comments about the Metro Police, about Morocco, about money issues, about making ends meet, and then Banyana 2, and maybe perhaps the junior box too, right? Let's, however, go to Midrand first up. John, you've got a view on guns.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, John. Yeah, thank you for calling in.
My brother, I just want to raise something. Today in Midrand, halfway house area, I saw somebody carrying an AK-47 live.
Mm-hmm.
And this person was in civilian clothing. That type of weapon is full automatic and is not allowed in South Africa. And it's not even allowed to be carried by private security guards. Really, really, it's shocking to see what is happening in our country. The guy was in civilian clothing and he was just moving around with this rifle. So I don't know what the law is saying about it, Ashraf.
Well, A, it's not allowed, but maybe the bigger one is like, what is the policing? There just seems to be no effective policing, isn't it? Outside the third part, which is the culture of that person who's willing to break the law, to just move around with a gun that's not allowed for whatever the motive. It's pretty obvious. You don't buy a gun like that just for show, do you?
There's police, there's cops. It's just next to Midrand Magistrate Court. In that same street, the guy is carrying an AK-47 in civilian clothing. I know AK-47 because it's something that I specialize in, types of weapons and things. And blatantly and openly carrying it towards the taxi rank there. It's just showing us that we are really not safe in this country.
Well,
we are on our own.
Must concur, sadly so. Must concur. Thanks for that call. John in Midrand. Let's move on to other issues. So we touched on it in sport. By the way, Tumi reminded me she couldn't remember the fifth prediction she made, and that was South Africa beating Zimbabwe, which she got right, which means now we tip it. It's now she got 3 out of 5, which means 60%. So that's much better than, just breaking even, isn't it? 60% is not bad as a punter, don't you think?
Hey, Ashraf, speaking to JT here from Marafo. Ashraf, please ask to me tomorrow. I just thought about it now late. Why do Banyana shirts not have a star? Because they did win the Continental Cup, or is the stars only reserved for male teams? Ask her that, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay, will do. I don't know the answer. Maybe just different rules for women's football, but I really don't know the answer of that one, by the way. Just talking about, champions, what about Riley Norton? I understand that, he's the captain of the team, the baby box that has just won the Rugby World Cup, but he also won, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the gist of it is correct, he's also won he's won the Under-19 World Cup for the South African cricket team. Oh my goodness, man. A double world champion. How many double world champions do you know in any sports, in any era in the world? Think about it. Okay, I'm not going to say Metro police officers who bribes are world champions, but many people suggest that too.
Good evening, Ashraf and fellow listeners. Des here from Estrand. It's no surprise that that money was found from those JMPD Metro Corps. It's pretty much obvious that their salaries covers their bonds, cars, and whatever expenses that they have. Then our bribes that they want on the road sustains their lifestyles. So it's pretty much evident. There's the Metro Corp driving in Omoda. Not everyone drives a luxury car. It's not much of a luxury, but then.
Well, a point taken. Absolutely. That doesn't make it right, but it talks about a depressed, deflated economy where people grab at whatever they can to make ends meet, right? By the way, there's here's an interesting, just a comment I want to just read out here on Twitter from the Higher Education Twitter or ZX account. The minister, in terms of this point, the minister would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the President of the Republic of South Africa, this is from Higher Education, right, for entrusting her with the responsibility to serve as Minister of Higher Education and Training. Now, this is, and it moves on because it's important. It has been a privilege to lead this important portfolio, and I'm grateful to the sector and the people for their support and for allowing me to serve in this capacity. I remain committed to the service of our people and the advancement of our country's development. Now, what's the context to all of that? It sounds rather cryptic, and it does suggest something that has happened here that we may get to in just a moment. We'll get a complete update on that with Kizon and Temba in just a second. In the meantime, I'll get to some of the callers. We've got Tebogo in Klerksdorp. Go for it, Tebogo. Hello.
Hello, how are you, Arshana?
Yeah, very good indeed. What's your point?
Good. Yeah, man. I would just like to say something, man, regarding your recent caller who was talking about someone carrying AK-47 on the public.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I would like to advise to that caller to say, as a South African, you've got the responsibility to report issues like this because he knows that it is illegal, but you should have just a report. Call the police, anonymously report that, no, I saw particular person wearing so and so and so, and then carrying AK-47 on the street. At least that is the responsibility of every South African citizen. So that's all. That's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Okay, got that. Well, I think many may concur with you about that, right? So, I mean, going back to that point, there's no official news around it, but clearly that point that I just read out, the tweet from the minister in command, the higher education minister, it does sound like, why would you just out of the blue just say thank you? Thank you for giving me the time or giving me the opportunity. You can work it out. That almost sounds like a goodbye. right? And you also know that when the president had his speak to the nation address the other day, it was very clear that they've kept things separate. So the allegations or the expectations of a cabinet reshuffle were shafted aside because they said, no, the president's only going to talk about one issue, which is the issue of, state security, right? But it didn't prevent him from raising another issue later on. This could be the beginning of that. There's no confirmation as yet, but you can make of that what you will, and that story could well develop in the next few minutes, I think, if not next few hours, right? Okay, let's get to other comments. Here's one about Morocco.
Good afternoon, Ashraf, Mr. Malim and the captain. I think the Morocco and South Africa is tit for tat because you remember Ashraf and Morocco, South Africa, the Sahrawi, they want to break away, but South Africa, they opened the office in Pretoria, and always South Africa, they're promoting the pushing for Sahrawi, that other province. So Morocco, the tit for tat, because many times Morocco was not happy the way they, the other province, they want to break away from Morocco. And South Africa liberation and South Africa supporting that province really. So that's not surprising. Tit for tat, Morocco and South Africa. Since way back 1994 up to now, Morocco and South Africa, they never got along really. It's history really, because that's the reality. Morocco and South Africa, they will never come right. Because as long as ANC supporting the Sahrawi, and Morocco, they will interfere South African now, because they get a chance now to maybe to call other opposition, whatever, or former Jacob Zuma.
That tit for tat has been going on for a while, but I hear what you're saying around that issue. Maybe the bigger issue is that that's bound to continue, quite honestly. But where does this go from here? Is it a reason to escalate it? I personally don't think so. I think, how do you get justice for the Sahrawi people? You're not going to get that by keeping those countries apart. You have to find a way to negotiate, as South Africa is often said, isn't it?
Ashraf, greetings to you and the listeners. I'm Sifiso speaking in Port Elizabeth. Hey, Ashraf, it's hard, man, to make ends meet. It is a huge challenge. You see, I've told myself that I'm no more falling into credit borrowing money, but I just December 2023, borrowed money just now as we're speaking. So, guys, if anyone who has the trick, who knows the trick, could you please, man, please just put us in the loop, please. Yeah, man, we need to know this information.
Well, you see, thank you for that call. You see, I'm saddened to hear that call, and the reality is your call is not a call in isolation. When, besides the super wealthy, when the middle class talks about struggling to make ends meet because they're overcommitted, then the working class is another story. And then the mass amount of people who are unemployed, it is a huge issue. And I think we take the issue of inequality and poverty for granted, like it's happened, and give them $5 and move on. What we need is structural change to move away from that, to be able to get to a situation where we actually can solve your problems so that more people can earn money and grow their wealth. But yeah, I think your point, if others know, seriously, what's the trick to making ends meet? Plan one is you have to earn some income, isn't it? And that's difficult when you don't have a job.
Good afternoon, Ashraf. Lennon Khoidi. Ashraf, this government, really, our salaries nowadays, they can't do anything for us, really. I thought we are just the few of us. Even if you can see that, it's too bad, my brother. What makes it worse is that even our pensions, we can't get them as we used to get them. Now, the SASSA also has gone west to can even deny the people who are supposed to have been receiving the grant, including those who are suffering from strokes. They have been denied now.
Point taken. Let's move on to another one.
The Ashraf, I think the Commission of Inquiry set up by President Ramaphosa must not only probe Chunu and Sevilla and Metro Police and the magistrate and so forth. Even though I like Mkonas, but also he must also be probed too. I don't trust anyone anymore in South Africa. If he's not guilty of anything, it's fine. The commission will not find him any guilt. Thanks, Mike and Moons.
Okay, and I tell you what, as has been suggested, you need to follow the stories that we cover here every time. And, we spoke earlier on about the thank you, and it's been a pleasure to serve you. Well, as I expected, here's confirmation from the President via his tweet. President Ramaphosa has, in terms of Section 91.2, appointed Mr. Buti Manamela, the Minister of Higher Education and Training. Mr. Manamela was, until his appointment, serving as Deputy Minister of Higher Education and Training, a role he had held from the 7th administration. So there you are, the confirmation. Buti Manamela is the new Minister of Higher Education and Training, which does mean that thank you that we had read earlier on was a thank you and goodbye from Nabutle Nkabane, going, obviously, stepping down or showed the red card. Either way, the pressure has been severe. That's where we end the show. This is the National Pulse, but as you know, the pulse rate races as the nation. At all the time, we are connected to what is it that drives the National Pulse. Thanks for listening. Here's Greg Host with the news.